Lady Mila, when you meet Lady Mila in the realm of the dead, will she praise you for the horrors you did in her name? Billy shouted. After those words, even Robin's lumbering steps finally stopped. This wasn't the first time he had been hit by this question. Billy's question had run through his head 1,000 times by now already, but every time it appeared, Robin would shake his head and resolve to continue what he had started. Would Mila be satisfied with what he's doing? No way. Regardless of whether he would meet her in another life form or not, if he had met her before she died and had told her that he would do all this for her, she would have absolutely refused. She would have told him that she did not want all this madness to be associated with her. But was he doing all this for Mila? Of course not. Mila Bradley, the wife of Robin Burton, won't go to the afterlife alone. Everyone involved in her death shall perish, and everyone who has a relationship with those who are involved in her death will die as well. I have already decided, and nothing you say would stop me, Billy. I've made up my mind. Robin shouted with absolute pride and anger. Hey, my dear friend Robin. The time may not be right, but let me confess something. Maybe I wouldn't have another chance to say it. I have always envied and hated you. Billy straightened his seat on the ground, looked at his feet, and began to speak in a tone full of self-sarcasm. We were born into two different classes. Your father was a useless wretch, and my father was one of the chief officials of the family. Yet since the age of 3, I have been pushed by my father to stay by your side all the time. You! Robin's look of internal conflict and anger disappeared, and he opened his eyes to the end when he heard this. Even the only friend he got from his dry childhood was a fake. Then Billy continued, ignoring Robin's reaction. I didn't know why I was being pushed towards you like that. It seemed for me a boring thing to do, especially since you didn't have any other friends. But you seemed to be thirsty for a friend and you treated me well, so I liked you too. But I soon knew why you were friendless. As the months and years passed, I saw that you surpassed me in training speed. I saw so much intelligence in your actions that I felt stupid next to you. I originally thought I was talented enough. It turned out that I was nothing. The talent that I was proud of became useless. I did not use it as I didn't have any motive. What can I possibly be when someone like you in the family, and worst, in my generation? But I also realized why the elders pushed me to be around you. Without anyone telling me, I tried to be a good member of the family and help you to be better. I tried to motivate you to participate in competitions. I tried to get you to increase your training speed. I was preventing those who are bigger and stronger than you from getting close to you by threatening them or call an elder in the right time so as not to bother you or give you a trauma. I tried to push you to accept more family resources to get stronger quickly. I was envious of you, and a part of me hated you and hated the task I was entrusted with. Yet I was trying to do everything for you to become stronger and more famous. The elders deeply hated you and envied you because you were not of their direct lineage, but they were racing to provide comfort and resources for you. And in the end, you throw everything on the wall one day and simply disappeared. Every day I waited for you at the entrance to the village, telling myself that you would come back today. But weeks and months passed and you never came back. You selfish thing, simply gave up the dreams of the family. You gave up your mother who loved you. You gave up on me who decided to live my life only to help you. And you decided to escape from your enormous responsibility to the family and from the gift that the universe gave you. So I decided to train hard, and with all my strength, I decided to come back and rely on the talent that I put on the shelf for you so that I could become a new pillar for the family. Not because I wanted what you got or because I desired responsibilities. Can you guess why? Because I wanted to make up for your absence and make everyone forget about you, instead of becoming the eternal traitor you were slowly becoming. Even after you left me behind without saying a word and never looked back, I kept thinking about how to help you. Pathetic, isn't it? Although you betrayed me by leaving, I was still longing to see you, although I was still envious of your talent. I also felt pity for your weak mentality. But everything changed when I was assigned a mission to investigate a young man named Caesar Burton. When I saw the results of your upbringing of Caesar, when I saw what you managed to achieve in just 130 years, when I, later on, saw you destroying the tyrants in Doliver and building factories and a good future for the innocent, I was sure that you did not betray my trust and did not evade responsibility, but that you held the responsibility of the whole world on your shoulders all that time, not just the families. I could not imagine the extent of the suffering and difficulties you went through to reach what you have reached. But I have seen one thing that you always saw and I was oblivious to. I saw that you, my friend, were not born to lead a family, you were born to lead the whole world. I knew that you were the chosen one, that the likes of you were not and will never be born in this world again. So I decided to serve you forever, to train harder and learn politics and leadership faster, so that I can help you manage your property and not occupy your head with trifles and distract you from your great destiny even for a second. Again, you led my life without knowing it. Robin, I may be too small for you to consider me a friend now, but to me you always be my friend, my idol. I have known you since you were born, and this is not you. You were born to change the world, not to destroy it. You were born to be heaven's punishment for those who deserve to be punished, and to be the mercy sent by the heavens to the innocent. You are not a tyrant. We're born to rule this world with justice. Shock, anger, sadness, and then loss. Robin experienced all kinds of emotions during Billy's short speech. The short speech that he felt was never going to end. He tried to clench his fists a few times and open his mouth to yell at Billy, telling him that he didn't care about his words and that he would finish what he started. But no sound came out of his mouth. How does he not care? Every word that came out of Billy's mouth hit his heart like a war hammer. The anger, the killing intent, and the indifference towards life disappeared as if it had never existed. Robin looked behind him at his massive army of demons. Perhaps in their cruel faces and the bloody aura he again would find the determination that he feels as it comes out of his body like sweat. If only one party will benefit from everything that is going to happen if Robin gave the order, they are undoubtedly the demons, who will be able to feed on tens of millions of humans, their primal source of physical power. Who might be more enthusiastic than the demons to begin the slaughter right there and then? Who would want to stop Billy from speaking any further and convince Robin to keep going? Robin could feel his determination being strengthened a little as he was turning back, but after fully turning and seeing their faces, his resolve weakened even more. The Demon Kings were all looking at the ground with complex looks on their faces, some nodding their head constantly in agreement with Billy's last words, and others shaking their head at what they have heard. Master, I followed you because you are the third heaven's chosen who is destined for eternal greatness, and because you told me that you wanted to save the planet Nahari, not because you were strong or vengeful. Master, I can't imagine how much pain you have been through, and I don't dare tell you what you are doing is right or wrong. But I'll be brave enough to say I support what Uncle Billy said. Jabba let out a long exhale, gather as much courage as he can, and then spoke. Then from among them, Amon stepped forward and gave a full bow. Master, if you tell Amon to commit suicide, I will commit suicide. If you give the order to unleash your army, we will devour every green and withered, every newborn and elderly on the planet. We will do it for you, and for our own benefit and well. But Amon begs you to think about what was said. Soccer, Moron, and the rest of the Demon Kings started to nod incessantly when they heard Amon's words. Robin's face looked as if he had neither heard nor seen anything. He just looked around slowly, then took a few steps in a certain direction until he reached a few corpses of the Flame Empire teenagers, and sat on them. Then he closed his eyes and seemed to be cut off from the world. Jabba, Amon, and the others looked at each other anxiously, knowing full well that they were asking their master to change all his plans and completely alter the course he had taken for himself. And this was certainly not a simple request. If Robin did not agree, he might be angry with them forever because of their stance today. Even Billy wiped his face from dirt, blood, and tears and went to stand next to Jabba and the rest, waiting for Robin's final decision that would determine the fate of the world, and perhaps not this world alone. Silence reigned on the beach for more than an hour. The smell of blood and roasted meat was caressing the noses of the powerful demons, but not one of them dared to move a single step from his place. At last, the silence was broken by Robin's calm voice. A year has passed since I returned to this planet. The time I gave to the Nahari Union clan has run out. The army must be ready now, and they are waiting for me to lead it. I will return to Nahari now with Amon and Jabba to destroy the northern region there. Robin's words took everyone by surprise, everyone waiting to give orders to exterminate or stop, but he changed the subject in a completely different direction. Billy, Robin then continued, you will stay here to lead the army of the demons, Do as you see fit with it, but I will accept no less result than destroying the imperial family of the Flame Empire and crippling their armed forces for at least another 100 years. As for everything besides that, I will leave it to you to decide. Yes, I will not let you down. Billy was overjoyed when he heard these words, although it is a very big responsibility, and he will still have to kill huge numbers of people to achieve the goal that Robin set for him. This is still much better than the original genocide plan. Soccer, stay here with Billy and help him. Let him take the diplomatic decisions. He will tell you who to kill and who to keep alive, but during the battle you can take full command and carry out the formations and plans we have trained in. Robin spoke again towards the thick white-haired demon. No need to fear anyone. I don't know about strong were the previous generations of emperors, but the strongest person in this continent is the current Flame Emperor, and he is an emperor in name only, and it has nothing to do with his cultivation level. He is just a level 40 sage. But you should still be careful. He is stronger than an average sage of the same level. You will need another 5 of 6 Demons Kings to deal with him properly. Soccer will not let you down. I will bring you his head. Soccer bowed completely, not seeming bothered that he would have to carry out the orders of someone much weaker than him like Billy. Then Robin continued, "Not needed, you can eat it. Soccer, the war in Nahari will be cruel, very cruel, much worse than what we have faced here. I got you all here and started my revenge in this world to strengthen you guys further, and seeing you now, I think my calculations were right. Honestly, I still don't know how to take down a real Emperor Realm Cultivator, but I know one thing. You will be the backbone in the war against the northern region in Nahari. I will need every one of the demon armies in Nahari as soon as possible. I will start there with maneuvers and small conflicts only with the northern region to test the waters, and I will postpone any major battle until you finish the continent of the Flame Empire and follow me to Nahari. Alright? Do you find 2 months a good time? You will find me under your feet in Nahari in no more than 50 days. Soccer put his hand over his heart and swore. Robin nodded with a slight smile upon hearing this, then stood up seemingly weak and gave a long whistle, then rode on top of the approaching Draco and sped south. Amon and Jabba looked at each other for a moment. Then both of them also jumped over a Draco and followed Robin in silence. A few days later, Jura City. Hee. This place is a huge treasure cabin. Someone spoke as he searched the pockets of a half-eaten corpse lying next to a wall. I know. Just shut your mouth and increase the pace. We have to leave quickly before anyone finds us. Who could possibly find us here? This is a ghost land. Those damned red demons ate everyone in it and left. Do you think anyone would dare live here again? Everything in the stricken Jura City is ours now. The other person didn't answer again. He just chuckled when he heard this and went back to looking at the bodies. He was just talking to be on the safe side anyway. This isn't the first time they have come here to rob everything they can carry and then run with ease. This city, due to its huge size and the wealth of the people who died in it, many of them being saints and sages, especially the Flame Empire's wealthy troops that died here at the hands of the demon, has effectively become a paradise for thieves. The thieves whose numbers have increased 100-fold over the past year due to the destruction of the ruling authorities on the continent. Hey, you two. This area will be under the control of the Angry Birds gang starting today. Leave what you have collected and get out of here right now. A shout came suddenly that interrupted the two happy thieves. What? This is not fair. The city is still full of treasures. Why do we have to hand our stuff over to you? Go search for your own shit. Do as I say, or you will be like corpses you are looting. The only difference will be that no one will be looking at the corpse of a poor bastard like you. That person claiming to be from the Angry Birds gang approached 7 other individuals, all of them between levels 8 and 10 of the Energy Foundation's realm. A group like this was currently considerably strong in the entire continent. After all, there are no knights or sages left. Shit, Junior. Leave whatever you got behind, and let's go. But, do what I said. Damn it. All right. The younger guy threw a bag on the ground which made the sound of a thick metal collision. He had spent many hours plundering the city, and now everything was in vain. Ha. Good boys. Now get lost from my city before I change my mind. Junior wanted to respond, but his older brother grabbed his mouth and pulled him away before uttering a word. You idiot. Do you want to die? Shut up and walk by the wall. This is the only way to survive in this world right now. but Junior bit his older brother's hand anyway and shouted at them from afar. I hope you all can die, you sons of bitches. At that moment medium-sized white flame balls descended from the sky like meteors and instantly turned the 8 individuals of the Angry Birds gang into ashes. That was fast. Junior stood looking at what was happening with open eyes. Oh my God! At that moment he heard his older brother muttering in a frightened voice and looking up, so he did the same and looked at the sky. Hundreds of similar white flame balls are flying around looking as if they are looking for something. When one of the balls finds a target, it immediately drops on it. What are these things? It looks like Junior couldn't finish his sentence. A white flame ball came from behind him and penetrated his chest, and his brother soon followed. Everyone in the scene has died without knowing what happened. Tight security should be placed here. Jura should be treated as a sacred area and not a shelter for bastards and cockroaches. Robin spoke firmly, still shooting life energy injected white flame balls left and right. The city was huge, and the number of thieves and criminals that choose it as their shelter was not a small number either. I'm sorry, Master. All the guards have been directed to protect your esteemed family at the Black Sun capital, and the rest of the forces are still looking for any trace of forces from the Empire or anyone above level 10 as you ordered, but I will immediately send orders to send companies to secure Jura City. Amon quickly replied, sweating. By the way, do you not want to stop the decision to kill those above level 10 in the Ancestor Continent? Jabba asked suddenly. He wanted to remind Robin that maybe he would reverse his cruel decision as he had changed his mind about his decision to exterminate all the inhabitants of the continent of the Flame Empire. No, 99% of the knights, saints, and sages on the ancestral continent are already dead. The 1% are no better than them. Let them go meet their brothers in hell. All my previous commands shall stay in effect. As you like, Jabba replied curtly, a slight disappointment in his voice. There is no need to worry. Billy didn't force me to change my mind. I was convinced and I made the decision. But that doesn't mean that I will go back to my older version. This nameless nascent planet will take a lot of effort for me to turn into a better place. A place that doesn't force me to destroy it, but it will take a long time and effort. Let the cleansing process continues in the 2 continents until I find enough time and put my full mind in rebuilding it according to what suits my future vision. The important thing now is the northern region of Nahari. The army of the Nahari Union sect and the rest of our giant tribes must be preparing to move right now. We can't spend much time and thoughts about what's going on here. Let's go to the metal warehouse. We will be heading to Nahari at once. Yes. Nahari Union sect, the central administrative square. Look. The space portal is lit up again. One of the guards looked in amazement at the giant semicircle and spoke. Wow. Really a thing of beauty. Ever since I saw the sect head using it for the first time, and I have been dreaming about using this mythical portal once in my lifetime. I wonder where whoever enters it goes? Hundreds of thousands of demons entered it and they all disappeared. Why is the sect head taking them but not us? I want to try it at least once. Be careful. Someone is coming out of the gate, said the chief guard, who was of the human race, and advanced toward the gate to receive the newcomer and listen for orders. This isn't the first time the gate has been lit over the past months. Amon has been periodically moving back and forth to fetch more demons. In the beginning, he brought in about 500 sages and 100,000 saints, but then he continued to bring in more demon knights to take full control over the ancestral content and to give them the chance of a quick breakthrough into sainthood. But everyone was surprised this time that the one who came out of the gate was not a crimson and long-horned creature. But, we salute the sect head. The chief guard quickly knelt down and the rest of the guards followed him. Even some of the officers and rune masters who were accidentally passing by on the square also kneeled when they heard the shouts. Robin did not return the greeting, did not nod, did not even look at the guards and the kneeling passers-by, but looked around him with knotted eyebrows. A few seconds passed while Robin took his time looking around. He even turned around in all directions to see the whole square and all the streets branching from it, and after every passing second his face was more frowning. 2 other individuals walked out of the portal, one of the Nahari giant race and the other of the demons. After the first moment he came out, Jabba looked at the people kneeling on the ground and gave them permission to stand. then looked at Robin, who seemed angry, and asked, "Master, is there a problem? This place is the Central Administrative Square, right? The place in the middle of the weapons factories, the rune drawing academies, and the barracks for training the special troops, right? This is supposed to be the busiest place in the entire clan when there is a state of war, right?" Robin kept looking and pointing around him angrily as he was talking. This. Jabba understood what Robin was getting at him and looked around as well. A few guards to make sure no one touches the gate. A few people walking normally, but nothing else. Hey you, did they decide to gather the elite troops somewhere else? And what about the main army? Where is it gathered right now? Jabba looked at the chief of the guard and asked. The chief of the guard looked at his colleagues on his right and left and then replied with fear. An army? Which army? Are we not at peace currently? There wasn't any recruit movement lately. Everything is still as it is. Our usual main army of 200,000 trained soldiers is still in their quarters, and the rest of the clan members are in their usual work. Jabba furrowed his brow on hearing this. The situation did not bode well at all. So he quickly asked again, perhaps if he could find something to calm his master. What about the giant tribes of the eastern region? Are there any movements in them lately? Did they start moving their armies? No, after our victory over the last enemy tribe, the eastern region of the planet has turned completely into a state of peace. There is a great renaissance in industry and agriculture though, and the distribution and use of talismans among the common people has boomed lately. Now every tribe is trying to benefit from its new lands and exploits the innovation of talismans to increase production and development within the lands of their tribes. The armies, however, are almost forgotten. Bastards! Robin shouted when he heard this and hit the metal body of the portal. Disobeying a direct order from me? Who gave them such audacity? Please calm down. Perhaps there is an explanation. Please head toward the grand meeting hall with Amon, and I will go gather all the elders and come after you. Jabba spoke softly, trying to calm the atmosphere a little. There is no need, I will get them faster. Robin replied with a wave of his hand and then looked up. He began using the minor sound heavenly law. All sect elders, all senior officers, all chiefs of the important joints in the sect, and all the delegates of my giant tribes, head toward the grand meeting hall immediately and without delay. Robin's voice this time was not exclusive to the square or directed to a specific area, but rather covered the entire City of Hope, the huge city inhabited by millions of people of different races. A city that can be considered the core heart of the eastern region. The sound echoed in everyone's ears and chest like thunder. Millions of people rose up looking around where the source came from. But the people mentioned in the call made their hair stand up. This is the Nahari Union sect. Who would dare to speak about its leaders in this way in the entire eastern region? What was this? Who dared to speak like this? He is courting death. No, this isn't random. If I'm not mistaken, this is the minor sound heavenly law, and this voice isn't unfamiliar. Is that the voice of Robin Burton? Tisk, let's go see what he wants. The administrative tower, the grand meeting hall, a quarter of an hour after Robin's summon. Does anyone know what was that? I'm not sure, but the voice said, the delegates of MY giant tribes? Who can say something like that but Robin Burton? It's definitely sect head Robin. Don't you recognize his voice? Oh, Chief Zalkis, did you come too? Why do you think we were asked to gather? Humph. Has the good life you are having made you forget today's date? You idiots? Today? Oh shit. Damn, the days are really running fast. Can someone please tell me where the hell is my army? Robin shouted as he kicked the door of the hall angrily that he almost broke it, then entered, and behind him Jabba and Amon. The elders looked at each other and then toward the Metal Giants clan chief, Zalkis, who pointed toward one of the empty seats around the oval table and spoke with a slight smile. Mr. Robin, there are a few people who haven't come yet, and among them are the rest of the giant chieftains of yours. Please calm down and take a seat first for a few minutes until everyone comes. Shouting and talking aggressively will get no one anywhere. Robin looked at that giant for a long time, the anger in his eyes starting to fade away, soon replaced by a bad feeling. The words of the chief of the Metal Giant tribe were vague, but they contain a lot. First, the lack of a direct answer to the question means that the army has really not been gathered. If it was gathered as commanded, then he would just say that there is a misunderstanding and started explaining. Second, when the Metal Giant tribe chief told Robin to sit, he pointed toward an empty seat around the table, even though the main seat is empty. If Robin doesn't sit in the main seat in his sect, who will? Third and last, this person's manner of speaking seemed respectable on the surface, but somehow carried a hidden threat. Robin rolled his eyes at the rest of those present. Some of them acted bored, some smiling silly, and some looking around nervously, trying hard not to meet Robin's eyes. The human, Orzon, was in the last category. "Sir, give me permission to bring you his head." Amon took 2 steps to stand next to Robin and spoke in a loud voice that everyone could hear clearly. "Whose head are you talking about? You filthy demon. Do you know who is standing in front of you?" Chief Zalki stood up and hit the table in front of him so hard he almost broke it. "Since when did you scavengers become so arrogant? We were driving you pieces of sh*T around like farm animals just 2 decades ago. Have you forgotten your roots, you filthy thing? Are you gaining some confidence that you can speak now? Are you proud that you can use your mouth for something other than eating and barking? You are closer to wild beasts than you are to intelligent creatures." Vroom. Amon unleashed his aura as a high-level dragon in terms of physical strength system and as a low-level sage in terms of the internal energy system. A faint veil of blood energy covered his body, increasing his fearful look. Even more, his terrifying auras combined roughly equal to a level 39 expert. In nothing but an instant he frightened everyone silly, then spoke in an extremely rough voice. "Between you and death is nothing but one word from my master. That tongue you used to insult Amon will be in my stomach in less than a minute if I take permission." "You!" Zalkis took a step back with his eyes wide open. Since when did the demon race have individuals this strong? At this moment Robin lifted up in front of Amon and spoke with a slight smile. "No need. If a mighty giant tribe chief personally asked me to wait, why don't I wait? I would love to hear what they have to say after everyone is here." Robin then took short steps and moved toward the main chair at the head of the oval table and sat down, looked at the person sitting next to him disgustedly, then spoke. "You. Get up from my side and find yourself somewhere else to sit." "Eh? Yes." Orzon stood up, keeping his head low, and moved away with heavy steps. Robin then signaled Amon and Jabba to sit on his right and left, and then simply closed his eyes. Whether the sect elders, the high-ranking officers, or the giant tribe's chiefs, they all started to look at each other with strange looks. Some of them were questioning and some were angry, even some were fearful, but no one said anything. A minute after minute passed. The hall gradually began to fill up. Every once in a while a person enters and finds the heavy atmosphere in the hall, so he finds a chair for himself and sits silently too. Robin's eyes were still closed, but his spiritual sense had not left anyone. He quickly discovered that all the delegates of the giants' tribes were in fact the chiefs themselves. 6 chiefs had attended so far. This is to be expected if the army had been assembled and all of them gathered in the clan to wait for orders to attack and act as a command council. But as long as there is no army, what are they all doing here? After another 5 minutes, everyone was already there, except for one person. "Jabba, it seems your father has become too important to head my call. Maybe I should have made an earlier appointment to have the pleasure of meeting his honor." Robin spoke in a low sarcastic voice, but everyone heard him. Jabba clenched his hands tightly when he heard this. He too noticed the presence of all the other chiefs, and naturally, his father was also in the city, though he had not yet appeared. Perhaps he was not in a position where he can't attend quickly. Please be patient. Hee, maybe. Robin laughed sarcastically and spoke. After another 5 minutes, Robin finally opened his eyes and spoke. "All right then. Looks like the Lightning Tribe doesn't want to be a part of this conversation. So let's begin." "No need. Thander is definitely coming." "Yeah. It would be better if you spoke to him when he comes. It would be more convenient." The leaders of the 6 giants spoke similar words upon hearing Robin, all refusing to say a word of anything without Thander. When Jabba heard this, his heart almost fell to his feet. He quickly looked next to him towards Robin and found his features slowly turning from indifference and smile to pure anger. It was clear that he was starting to reach his limits. Jabba quickly stood up and gave a slight bow toward Robin and spoke, "Please wait another 2 minutes. I will go find him myself." At this moment, a strong voice came from behind Robin. "No need. I'm here now. Get your back straight already, you unworthy thing. Since when have our family members started bowing to anyone?" Thander furrowed his eyebrows after entering the hall and shouted at his son, "He is my master." Jabba looked toward his father when he heard this and responded quickly and angrily, with even some fear on top. Thander has seen him bow to Robin countless times before, only now did he remember to scold him for it? There is something strange going on, even stranger and worrisome than he originally thought. Even if he is your master, bowing and kneeling to anyone is a humiliation that the geniuses and the sons of royalty should not experience. You can pay your respects in other ways," said Thander, slowly advancing to his son's seat to Robin's right, sat down, then looking at Robin with a smile. "Don't you think I'm correct, Mr. Robin? I didn't tell Jabba to bow down to me, nor did I tell a certain someone to sit next to me without asking while I reserved the chair for someone else." Robin stared for a moment at Thander's smug smile, and then spoke without emotion on his face. "Everyone can express their respect or disrespect for me in their own way, and everyone will be treated accordingly." "Haha, you don't take it so seriously, Mr. Robin. My son was sitting here, right? He is my son, after all. I and him are the same. Haha." Thander laughed loudly and patted Jabba, who was standing next to him, on his back. Jabba hurriedly spoke to Robin in a loud voice. "Please don't blame him. He doesn't mean anything. I was going to ask permission to stand behind you anyway. I'm not used to sitting in such meetings." Then he moved with a forced smile on his face and stood behind Robin. His heartbeat could be heard from all over the hall. Robin looked at the smile on Thander's face for a moment. It seemed that he didn't care that Robin considered his behavior disrespectful. He just continued sitting down as if nothing had happened. A half laugh came out of Robin's mouth and then asked straightforwardly, "Where's my army? What army are you talking about?" Thander asked innocently. "The eastern region is under our complete control, and we have begun the operations of distributing weapons and making a division between the Nahari giant clans at the western, central, and southern regions. We no longer have any potential enemies, so why would we raise an army? It doesn't make sense. I'm talking about the army I demanded a year ago." Robin tried to stay as calm as possible and asked again, What would you use it for? A wise man like you would surely not start another war for no reason, especially as we are on the cusp of an invasion from another world. When we found that we were living in peace, we decided to help you cancel the order to gather the army." Thander responded again and shrugged his shoulders. "Father, what the hell are you doing? Do you realize what you are saying right now?" Jabba shouted when he heard this, but Thander completely ignored him. He. Robin chuckled in anger when he heard this and started to look everyone in the eyes. "Why are you all silent? Do you all agree to Thander's helping me to cancel a direct order? Please don't take it personally, Mr. Robin. We have found what is in the public interest and we have done it. That is it." One of the other 7 Nahari giant chiefs spoke. Another chief followed him. "Right. We won't gain anything from starting an all-out war, as you want at a time like this. We need to take a step back and strengthen ourselves." The rest of the 7 Nahari giant chiefs nodded, evidently all of them in agreement with what Thander had said. As for the sect elders, they began to look at each other nervously with the edges of their eyes. Some of them only looked at their feet and did not raise their eyes, although their answer to Robin's question was clear by now. Uttering it out loud was extremely dangerous. If they say that they reject the position of Thander to keep Robin calm, this would be a clear lie, as they also did not move a muscle throughout the year and did not even gather the sect army, and they are not ready to gather the army if Robin orders them again now. And if they say they agree to stop the order, they are simply violating Robin's status as head of the sect. The very structure on which the whole sect has been built may collapse in a fit of anger. What about you and the rest of the humans in the council? Do you support helping me stop the decision to gather my army as well? Robin left everyone and focused his eyes on Orzon and the 3 other humans beside him. Orzon raised his head and looked at Robin's emotionless eyes. Then he caught Thander's eyes, who were staring at him fiercely, as if reminding him of what he had to do. "We," Orzon muttered for a few seconds and then continued, "we support peace in the Eastern Province, and we support strengthening ourselves and developing our economy over the coming years. Peace. I am the one who brought you this peace. Have you forgotten yourselves? Have you forgotten who I am?" Robin shouted and hit the table in front of him, his eyes slowly beginning to draw on all the elders of the inferior races. "If it wasn't for me, you would still shiver in your settlements like chickens waiting for the day you slaughtered, and you talk to me about developing your economy? If it wasn't for me, you would still be training your sons to become terrorists, to be hunted and be killed like dogs in the streets, and you talk to me about peace. Lord Robin, of course we remember everything, but it's not like what you say. Didn't you initially tell us that we were going to face an enemy from another world when we created this sect? There are 28 years to our limit. How do we exhaust our experts' lives and resources in an internal war at a time like this? That doesn't make any sense." An old man of one of the lower races gathered his courage and spoke. "I am the one who saved your lives, and I am the one who gave you your resources. I am the one who told you about the coming enemy. You are walking on the path I set for you, yet you had the audacity to disobey a direct order from me? Your forces, you say? How many of you experts' lives would have been lost in random worthless deaths in the last 22 years if not for me providing you a decent living condition? Since when do you care about lives? You were giving birth knowing that every single one of your kids will meet a horrible death sooner or later. But your lives became valuable now when I asked for your help. Your resources, you say? For every talisman you use in this war, I was going to make you 100 more. For every broken armor, I would have invented you a better set. For every damaged piece of land, I would have given you the entire northern region. You think I went crazy and that I will destroy you for my sake? When was the last time I did something that turned out to be against you all? When was the last time I asked you for something to repay all I have done for you? What? Are you all grown up now and no longer need me? Is that it?" The hearts of the sect elders were trembling with every word Robin said. They knew very well how hard it was to live before and what Robin had done for them. The feeling of disobeying his request by starting the war was killing them from within, especially since Jabba told them about the reason and about the death of Robin's wife and the gruesome way of her death. They certainly wanted to help him, but not at the expense of their own interests. More than a minute after Robin's anger erupted, none of them said a word in response. "Good, very good." Robin calmed down and then smiled and stood up. "Looks like today's meeting is over. I apologize for the way I have summoned you. Don't worry, there won't be more of these meetings in the future. I know I've interrupted you from your extremely important work. You can all go back to what you were doing. Farewell." "What? That is exactly what I was afraid of. What do we do now?" Panic erupted in the hall after Robin's words. Robin's words were the absolute worst-case scenario. They were the nightmare of everyone who agreed to disobey the order to gather the army, and it was the main reason why others rejected the idea. "Mr. Robin, I didn't understand what you said. Would you please explain? This is your sect, it was your idea to build it, you put in your life's work in this massive project, and you are saying farewell to where do you think you are going? I'm afraid this won't work." Thander spoke quickly, with a smile and a wide-open staring eye. Robin looked at him from top to bottom. Whether Thander's words or his facial features were all threatening and intimidating. He wasn't even doing much to restrain himself any longer. "Humph." Robin turned and headed for the door. There was no more room to speak with these people. All that needed to be said had been said, and it was over. Adding another word would be a waste of breath. "Stop. I won't let you leave." Thander stood up and shouted at the top of his lungs when he saw Robin ignoring him. When Robin heard this, he stopped his foot mid-air and looked back slowly with a murderous look. A look that was enough to send goosebumps to Thander's backbone. Amon issued the strongest roar he could manage and released his bloody aura intensely again. But the difference was that this time he didn't restrain himself even a little. Most of those present in the hall couldn't even say a word under the influence of his absolute suppression. Then Amon took a step to stand between Robin and Thander, and shouted in a rough voice, "Come and try to stand in my master's way. I dare you to do it. You!" A look full of awe filled Thander's eyes when he felt the power of Amon. Not because he is much stronger than him, it even can be said that Amon is still weaker than him or barely equivalent to him in the best case. What really shocked him was that Amon was Amon. This is the famous demon who was following Robin as his shadow everywhere. Only a year ago he was still as powerful as a low-level dragon and a high-level saint, but now after just 1 year he could stand in front of him as an equal and challenge him. Thander, that trash demon insulted me before you got here, and now is insulting you. How long will we be silent in the face of these repeated insults? We are the chiefs of the only remaining damn 7 giant tribes. Since when can we be treated like this? Zalki stood up and shouted, but he didn't address his words to Amon this time. In fact, he was sweating a bit. Amon's current aura is even stronger than when he frightened him silly just a few minutes ago. This demon is already disrespecting them all now when is barely an equal. What if they gave him more time to mature? Right, that thing should be punished. Those demons are just dogs who have finally gained a voice for themselves, and now they want to bite us back. Supported by the requests of all the other giant chiefs, Thander gathered his focus again and spoke to Amon. For the good of your kind, and lest we force you all to go back to playing in your own shit as before, withdraw your aura at once and kneel and apologize. Kneel down and apologize? Come and make me. Blood rushed to Amon's head when he heard the words of the giant's chiefs insulting his race. Every word he heard was like an arrow that pierced his heart. So he stood in an offensive position and prepared his strength in his claws and hips, ready to pounce on them at any moment. He wasn't even sure anymore if he was doing this to protect Robin or for himself. Either way, these arrogant giants need to be put in place. Thander slammed the table when he heard this and shouted, "Today I will teach you a lesson, you damn thing you won't forget. You have doomed everyone in your race. I will capture them again and I will dash." Vroom. At that moment, a large hammer appeared in Jabba's hand and he unleashed his power that reached a lower-level sage in the inner energy technique and a high-level dragon in the body-strengthening technique, and instantly everyone and everything in the hall went crazy. Their chairs, all the cups, plates, and vases in the hall were broken. Most of the people around the table tried to even raise their heads from the intensity of the pressure, but they did not succeed. It seemed as if 1,000 tons of metal suddenly descended on their heads. What power is this? It is gravity. Thander yelled when he realized that it was Jabba who was doing this in the hall, and shouted as he tried to get up again. "You are attacking your father? You ungrateful bastard?" Vroom. The wave of gravity coming from above suddenly intensified and sent Thaner back to his chair, and some of the weak elders felt their heart stops. Even the huge table and chairs made of the finest and strongest types of wood used to make divine armors started to crack. Jabba slowly looked around at the faces of the elders and chieftains who seemed to be suffering, then spoke softly. "You all really don't know shame. You want my master to invent, craft, and plan for you, and at the same time you don't want to do a single thing for him. He pulled you out of your hellish lives, he warned you of the coming invasion 50 years before it, and gave you the entire eastern region, and soon he was going to give you the whole world, but you do not want him to help him in revenge for his wife. You want everything without paying a price. Who do you think you are? No one wants to keep my master here more than me, but I will not be stupid to stop him by force. You idiots hit his most sensitive nerve, which he suffers from the most right now. You backstabbed him. And now you want to make matters worse by forcing him to stay? My master will not accept to do anything against his will. If you try, he will simply commit suicide. That is, of course, if the demon race allows you to keep him here in the first place." Then Jabba looked toward his father. "Little advice. Please choose your words in dealing with the demon race from now on, Mr. Thander. You didn't see what I saw, and to simplify to you their present condition, measure the increase of Amon's power over all the demons who crossed the space portal during the last year. Respect them by your will or by force. Either way, you will respect them, or you will drag the Lightning Clan to unnecessary hell." After Jabba finished speaking, he returned his hammer to the space ring and dispelled the gravitational field, allowing everyone to raise their heads again and look at each other in shame or anger, except for Thander, who looked at his son in shock and muttered, "Mr. Thander?" Jabba did not open his mouth to answer his father's question. He only turned his eyes and looked at Robin to see what he would do. During the journey from the continent of the Empire of Flames to the space portal in Jura City, Jabba's only concern was how he could convince Robin to stop the war or at least postpone it, without making him even more furious. He knew very well that his master's mind had become distracted after his confrontation with Billy. It was clear that he was convinced of his words and restrained himself enough in deciding how to continue with the war on the Flame Empire. But that did not mean that his anger had disappeared. It might have become even more intense. The flames of rage and vengeance that devour his chest and shout destroy in his ears could not annihilate the Flame Empire. But it still existed. The Flame Empire made the mistake of declaring war on the Burton family, no doubt, but they did not kill his wife in such a hideous way. The giants of the northern region did it, and now all of what Robin is thinking about is how to hurt them in the worst way possible. Maybe Robin applies the same rules to them, as he will only kill the ruling families, destroy their army and leave the innocent alive. But this doesn't make it any easier. They have emperors. Real ones. Jabba's mind did not stop working at top speed for a moment, trying to think of how to relieve a little of Robin's anger, if only temporarily, so that they could gather more strength. That was until the portal on the other side was opened and they reached Nahari. By just looking and before the meeting even began, he knew that everything had fallen into the abyss. But now he knew that his father was one of the biggest causes of this downfall, if not the main cause. There was no need to answer his father to tell him what he meant by his words. It was clear enough. Mr. Thandoor, a sentence with sufficient respect for the chief of a Nahari giant's tribe, but without any emotion or evidence of kinship. Through these two words, Jabba conveyed to his father what he wanted to convey. There is no longer a connection between them. Herr Robin let out a short sarcastic laugh and looked at the elders of the Nahari Union sect. I lifted you out of living like animals and founded this sect for you. I didn't make decisions in it and didn't even choose a name for it. I left everything to you, then gave you strength to stand on equal footing to the giants. Then I gave you strength to destroy the tribes of the giants, and I increased your status even more by making the chiefs of the tribes of the giants swear allegiance to the sect and not to me directly. For your sake I enslaved 7 giant tribes, all of them forced to obey the decisions of this council. You! One of the giants' tribe chiefs shouted when he heard the word enslaved. Robin ignored him and continued. But the most surprising thing for me today was not that you disobeyed me, the one whom you should treat as your god. No, what surprises me the most is that all those who spoke today were those 7 clowns. None of you said a word without me addressing the council first. You even made me wait for one of them before I can address you. You made me wait for a slave? I removed the collars from your necks and gave you the stick. But you came back to wear it on your own and returned the stick to your previous owner. It seems that you are too used to living like dogs under the feet of the giants, but that is okay. I admit now that this was my mistake from the start, and now I know that dogs will remain dogs. Perhaps there is hope in the new generation, but you lot, TSK. From today onward, I no longer have anything to do with this sect or this planet. You may continue to expand and have more of the resources and peace that you live or destroy yourselves. I don't give a shit anymore. I completely disavow anything that has to do with you. And I don't want any repayment for everything that I have done for you. I will tell you 2 small pieces of advice. First, do not tarnish my reputation after my departure. Everything I created should be attributed to me alone, without a partner, and the name of the 3rd chosen of heaven, Robin Burton, should be properly respected and worshipped among the younger generation, as it should be. Second, do not let anyone approach the space portal in the central administrative square, because it is mine. If I send someone back or forth from it, don't you dare stop him. I will not accept any excuse if you find a scratch on the portal or on anyone who uses it. All your armies and equipment must be focused on defending MY Space Portal. These 2 are my red lines, my absolute limits. If any of you ever try to cross these red lines, you won't have to wait for the Great War in 30 years. I, Robin Burton, will bring the war to your doorsteps. Then Robin looked in front of him again and simply walked, followed by Amon and Jabba, leaving the hall in complete silence. Robin's words struck the hearts of all of them. Every word from beginning to end was like an arrow to their hearts, and every word carried a message. Whether the chiefs of the giants that were described as slaves or the elders of the sect that were associated with dogs, or cutting the ties clearly, or even threatened war if his conditions were not implemented, Robin didn't hold back even a little bit. Did he just threaten us with war? Oh, this is worse than I feared. This is far worse. F***ck. What have we done? We have taken the third heavens chosen as an enemy. Damn. That gate can move entire armies in the blink of an eye while it's in the heart of the City of Hope. How can we leave it there? He can invade us at any time and slit our throats while we are sleeping. Between panic and anger, everyone was thinking about something different. Some were regretting. Some were trying to think of a way to stop Robin. Some were thinking of a way to take advantage of the situation, especially the senior officers and officials present on behalf of the Special Forces, and the Rune Masters felt that the ground was cracking from under their feet. They knew more than anyone how important Robin was and how great the methods he gave them. Robin was the sky for them. He was their everything. Now that sky is falling over their heads. Stop him. Some of you come with me to stop him. One of the giant chiefs finally hit the table. I will stop him. Thander finally got out of his daze and took a few steps toward the door. Hold your steps. A loud shout stopped Thander before he reached the door and drew everyone's attention to its source. You are not allowed to come near Lord Robin. Ha! Thander looked behind him slowly to see who he was talking to in this way. He found that Orzon was the one speaking. Then Thander shouted at him, Who the hell do you think you are? Orzon gathered all his courage and shouted, I am your master, and you shall hear my orders. You! Thander almost immediately pounced on him, but other elders from the council stood in his way, nodding their eyebrows, eventually angered by this extreme outcome after being reassured many times by Thander that nothing would happen and that Robin would take it as it is and move on. They wanted to stay their hands off the emperors in the north, but none of them wanted to lose the one who gave them everything. Orzon then looked around toward everyone in the hall and added, We have done enough. We've decided what's in our best interest, and now we have to bear the consequences and respect the will of our savior. Whoever tries to break one of the two red lines or stop Lord Robin now must prepare for war with the human race. Half an hour later, the stricken city of Jura. Master, please do not take what just happened personally. They did not plan to betray you because you are bad or because you deserve this, but rather they are trying to do what is in their interest and the interest of their families. I mean, you have the right to be angry because they disagreed with you, but please do try to understand the situation from their point of view at least, and don't overreact. They are just trying to live the life you granted them. After Jabba's first step as he exited the gate, he spoke quickly. These words he had been suppressing in his chest since they came out of that hall, and until they reached the portal in the central administrative square in the City of Hope. But he did not dare to utter a word for fear that Robin would think that he was trying to prevent him from leaving or that he was taking the side of the rebels. Although he thought about his words well and carefully selected them all the way from the hall to Jura, he felt guilt as they came out of his mouth. His voice gradually decreased until it completely disappeared, and the rest of the words that he was getting ready to say seemed to be lost forever. When he heard his own words, he realized how ridiculous he was. He realized that he was trying to justify treason. It does not matter how and in what context what happened. They are subordinate, disobeying a direct command from their superior. That is it. Whether they did it for the sake of their families or their own good, or really to protect the planet, as they say, it doesn't matter. They put aside everything Robin has done for them and chose to rebel. He gave them everything and they refused to help him get revenge for his wife. They refused to even help him rescue his son. No matter how intense Robin's reaction is now, no words can calm him. Not even another panic attack from Billy. Give me your orders. I will gather all the demons at once and destroy the entire northern region. We will devour every giant our eyes see. We will not leave a stone standing in its place until you tell us that your anger has subsided. Amon spoke in a strong tone. In the past, the demons were driven around like sheep and used by the giants to control the numbers of the other intelligent races, and they themselves and their sons were subjected to systematic killing without even knowing. Ever since that day when Robin told Amon what was really going on and gave him a spiritual sense, when they knew what happened to their ancestors and cubs, the demons' hearts turns to an ember of fire and ice whenever the race of giants was mentioned in front of them. And the thing is, they are now not what they used to be. The demons are no longer a weak or disabled race to take this as it is and shut up about it. The only thing that prevents them from taking their revenge after gaining all the power they currently have as a race is Robin. The way the giant chiefs talk to Amon now is more than enough to start a war between the two races, and even without any reason, if Robin gives permission, the demons will happily attack the giant race, and this time it would be their personal revenge. You! When Jabba heard this, he almost lost his balance. Wasn't it enough for Amon what is happening now? He wants to make matters worse. As for Robin himself, it seemed as if he was in another world hearing their words. It had been about a minute since they spoke, but he did not utter a word to respond to them. He only looked in front of him towards a big pile of ruins. It was his old palace, the one that was built shortly before his departure, and did not find enough time to enjoy it. His palace, which Mila designed and supervised its construction, but it was destroyed beyond recovery in the invasion of the city. And after another minute at last he spoke in a cold, low voice. "Do you see me angry, Baba?" Jabba's heart pounded like a hammer when he heard these words in that tone. His features turned for the worse, as if he had just heard the news of the death of a loved one. Then he looked next to him at Amon, who all the time seemed to have rigid features like a corpse. But even he seemed worried as well. That faint voice, a controlled breathing rate, a steady heartbeat, everything about Robin really suggests that he's not angry, he's not even a little mad. This was not normal. He just lost his chance for revenge. He lost his only hope in rescuing his son. He lost the sect he had spent 22 years strengthening. He lost the eastern region that was united under his name, and he made an unprecedented achievement in all of history that one person could control all these lands in peace and without having to fight every other living creature in the planet. He just lost everything that has to do with Nahari, the planet for which he left his family from the beginning, and he lost it with a stab in the back at that and not in a battle or by luck. How is it possible that he is not angry? At that moment, Jabba wanted to retract all his words and advise him to vent his anger. He finally understood what he saw. This condition was not strange to Robin. This is very similar to his condition after he heard the story of his wife's death. His condition in which he entered that mountain, and immediately after that, he declared war on 2 planets. His condition right now is dangerous, very dangerous. Even if Robin had ordered him to gather an army now to attack the sect or to assassinate a few elders to vent his anger, he wouldn't have hesitated for a moment in execution. But to his surprise, Robin continued speaking in the same cold tone. "I'm going to take a walk around to smell some fresh air. I think I need this. You both can go help Billy conquer the continent of the Flame Empire, and tell him to also slow down and reduce losses. I no longer need the army of the demons in a couple of months. And when you are done, send me a message via the voice ring to find a place to meet." "Okay. Don't worry, Master. I will bring you the Flame Emperor's head under your feet as soon as possible. Speak quickly." "No need. You and Soccer feed on him. You both deserve this," Robin replied in his calm voice. "All right. Everything will be done according to your wish." Jabba and Amon looked at each other and spoke almost at the same time. "Good. Good." Robin muttered twice, then began to step forward slowly, very slowly as if injured. Someone with his strength and knowledge of the space path could easily have disappeared in an instant, but it took over a quarter of an hour or so for his shape to fade behind the ruins of the city. "That doesn't look good." Finally, Jabba spoke after he lost sight of Robin. His state of mind was already bad before he went to Nahari, and his only motive for moving forward was revenge. Now look at him. Is he just going to walk around and smell fresh air until we bring down the Flame Empire? Who knows how long this will take? I'm starting to fear for him. You are overthinking. Master has the brightest and sharpest of minds. He can walk as much as he likes. This continent has no longer a single person capable of threatening my master anyway. Amon replied with a raspy voice. Jabba turned back to look before him to where Robin had disappeared and muttered, "Oh, but there is one. Who can hurt my master on this continent? I will go kill him right now." Amon spat out agitated. "It is the master himself." A few days later, somewhere west of the continent of the Flame Empire. "Ha! No, it seems that I misheard something, as this cannot be true. Did you just say that Robin was betrayed on that other planet of yours, and then you guys left him alone and came here? Is that what happened?" Billy yelled madly. terrifying all the officers around him.
Boom.
Aman looked side by side at Jabba and spoke. I told you we should follow him secretly. That was his request. What do you both want from me? You wanted me to cling to him against his will. Jabba looked side and in front of him at Billy and Aman several times and shouted in his own defense. You both know him well. You either listen to orders and be a friend or you disobey him, and you are an enemy. He has no third choice. That's not true. When I stepped up against his decision, he listened to my words and changed his mind. Billy spoke proudly and then continued. You idiots should have insisted on staying by his side. He was already in a bad, vengeful mood. I can't even imagine his condition now. With all due respect, Uncle Billy, if my master hadn't already been in an internal conflict over his decision, if he was really intent on killing everyone no matter what, he would have let you commit suicide and threw you to rot to the side as he went along. Jabba spoke with his eyes half closed. A muffled laugh escaped from Aman's mouth, but he managed to hold it in. The look of anger on Billy's face was replaced by shock as he looked at Jabba bluntly for a few moments. Well, that is probably true. But what's the point, with all due respect, if you were going to humiliate me like that afterward?
Boom.
Tisk, forget about it now. What is the situation here? I see you might need some help. Jabba looked behind Billy and spoke with furrowed eyebrows. You think? Billy opened his arms wide and shouted sarcastically before a pale yellow flame ball fell right behind him.
Boom.
Billy got busy putting off his back and then looked behind him. His eyes fell on what appeared like two seas of yellow and white flames, and shouted, Bastards! Don't let the damned attacks reach the command center? Sorry, boss. We'll pay attention next time. One of the demons answered in a hoarse voice. Billy pointed at him and yelled again. I know you, Tamaho, you red-horned bastard. Don't think you will get away with your negligence just because you look like the rest. Where is Soccer? Didn't he promise to finish conquering the continent in just 50 days? Why are you still near the ships? At this rate, you won't reach the middle of the continent anytime soon. What is going on here? Aman spread his spiritual sense everywhere around him to try to search for Soccer and the rest of the Demon Kings. You'll find that sack of shit in the front, Morin in the back. You know why? Because we are King trapped. It's all because of that bastard Soccer's bragging that he is going to conquer the continent in less than 2 months, and because of the damned Robin's bizarre demand that we find ourselves in this situation. Billy screamed and kicked the rocks next to him, and a few demon officers even took side steps so that none of the rocks hit them. In Billy's fury, a shout came from within the city. Who the hell are you? Why are you hellish devils attacking us? What do you want from us? Shut up and just die, you bastard. Or I'll order the demon to CK your corpse before they eat it. Billy looked toward the city and yelled angrily, then looked at Jabba. See that? We have been here for about 2 weeks already, but the Imperial family didn't tell the common people what they did in Ancestral Continent, nor do they tell them who we are. Most of the ones we are fighting don't even know what's going on, but they still fight anyway. Just calm down. What happened? Tell me why and how you were trapped here? Asked Jabba with furrowed eyebrows. When he and Aman came upon the Draco, they found a huge battlefield in front of the walls of a large city. The battle seemed somewhat chaotic, so he just searched for Billy and went for him. But he didn't notice that there was a siege around the demon army. Who? Billy tried to calm himself and then continued. The continent is literally huge. It definitely can compare to the size of the Ancestral Continent or just a little bit smaller. The problem is that the continent is filled with cities that contain a large number of elders and saints. It's not like the Ancestral Continent where only 1 or 2 old farts in each kingdom are in the sagehood realm. In a war like this, we ought to wait and think of strategies to minimize losses, but because we were pressed with a short timetable, we finally decided to advance in a straight line until we reached the capital located in the northeast of the continent. After the first week, we found a few big cities and attacked them directly. The cities were heavily armed and their walls did not fall no matter how hard we tried. But in the end, we managed to overwhelm their aerial defenses and captured them. When we asked the prisoners, in a friendly manner of course, why the cities were armed and shielded in this way, although there are no wars, they said that the coastal cities are armored in this way because of the attacks of sea beasts. while the cities inside the continent are more armored because they are old and the imperial family when they first came here wanted to protect the family from the attacks of the high-level beasts that were filling the continent. So they strengthened the defenses as much as they can, and it's still standing. Anyway, we killed all the experts who refused to surrender and captured the rest of the residences of those cities. But I knew that this success was thanks to our sudden attack and soon we would face trouble. And it was. Now every city we encounter, besides that they are basically heavily armored and armed, is fully prepared and they have military and logistical support from everyone around them to stop us. This is in addition to that we are constantly attacked from behind because we are walking in a dangerous straight line at a fast pace and do not do anything to protect our rear. Groups of imperial forces are trying to burn the fields of grain and crops, and drain the rivers and wills in front and behind us, until we are starved. And indeed if it was an ordinary army we would have suffered from severe thirst and hunger by now. I think for the first time I felt happy that my soldiers are mainly cannibals. And right at this moment, as you can see, we are facing the two problems together. A city fully ready to defend against us to their death in the front, and a large army came stabbing us from behind. Are you saying we are losing this war? No, you misunderstood me. There is no way we could fail even if we deliberately tried. Billy shook his head. The number of saints between us and the Empire is roughly equal, but we have a few times more troops when it comes to the number of sages, and a lot of them are at a high level as well. Even with all the hardships we face, we will triumph at the end of the 2 months for sure, but the price will be high, very high. Jabba let out a long sigh when he heard this. Good. You scared me for a moment. Good? What is so good about any of what you said? I'm telling you, after the 2 months time frame, we will be in a miserable situation even as the victors. Billy replied angrily, still looking at Jabba for a moment and then looking back at the fighting going on behind him.
Asterisk boom asterisk.
The good thing is that all your problems will be solved if we ignore the 2-month deadline. Let's reorganize all plans to minimize losses. That was one of my master's instructions anyway. Billy turned to Jabba and gave a stupid and uncertain look. Jabba furrowed his eyebrows and asked, What are you looking at? You say we can ignore the 2-month deadline? Do you mean we can slow down? This doesn't make sense. After you told me what happened on that planet Nahari and that there was no army to support him there, I thought Robin would want us to speed up for him to take over the demon army and leads them to planet Nahari to attack that northern region. That is what I thought too. After we got back to the gate in Jura City, I was going to try to convince him not to do what you just said. But he went extremely quiet. He seemed remarkably calm and told us to slow down the control of the Flame Empire continent and reduce the losses. Then he walked alone. Jabba raised his shoulders. And speak. Quiet? Robin was. Quiet. And you let him go. You stupid bastards. Billy screamed and kicked Jabba's leg. The kick was light because he was afraid to hurt himself though. Really? Are we going to discuss this again? Jabba angrily replied. You do have Master's soul imprint anyway. If you dare then go on, try to contact him to find out where he is and what he is doing. Billy was silent for a few seconds, his mouth wide open, not knowing what to say, and finally he spoke. Ahem, you and Amon go and defend those who attack us from behind. I will focus on helping Soccer end the siege on City. When we are done with them, let's meet again and see what we'll do from now on. Tisk, that's what I thought. Jabba replied sarcastically and then patted Amon on the shoulder. Let's go. 5 hours later, in the tallest building inside the besieged city. Theo, they are too good for people who haven't tasted war for tens of thousands of years. Aren't they supposed to be immersed in pleasures and neglect their forces? That's puzzling. Jabba sat on the sofa and muttered, looking at the ceiling. See what I mean? I don't know if it's because of their cultivation with the rest of the empires and their fear of future animosity with them, or because of the inherent pride in their veins as an imperial family, but everything around the Flame Empire is a few times stronger and better than it should be. Billy nodded as he looked out the window at the ruined gate. Brother, what are our losses today? Amon looked toward Soccer, who is in charge of the forces in this campaign, and asked. 26 sages and 437 saints. Soccer replied in his usual raspy voice. There are similar numbers who are seriously injured and need a few weeks of treatment to be able to fight again, and about 300 sages and 10,000 saints need a week of rest and treatment to continue the fight. We have looked down on the forces of this planet too much, Jabba said while nodding his eyebrows. Everyone nodded except Billy. He didn't really know whether to curse this fact or feel proud. As for the rest, they were thinking about what went wrong. What they have experienced in the ancestral continent gave them the impression that their stay on this planet will always be an easy ride. Their battle at the central continent was a cruel wake-up call. They came to the Flame Empire continent prepared to face a strong enemy. But even though they still got the shock of their lives facing the real thing, these guys weren't cattle ready to be slaughtered. If the numbers were even, then the outcome would be unpredictable. Then Soccer continued. The good thing is that we will have destroyed all the Imperial forces within 1,000 miles around us in all directions. We may face small battles and attacks from the rear as usual, but we will not encounter another battle of this size until after 10 days of advance at least. We can catch our breath on the way. Jabba furrowed his eyebrows firmly. Another battle like this in 10 days? Damn, this shouldn't go on. I'm starting to thank fate for what happened in Nahari. If the war had started there and you had to continue at the same pace here, no one in the demon army would be left to catch up with us, and without the demon forces, we would have been crushed in the northern Nahari region. What will be the plan for the next stage? You said Robin gave us permission to ignore the deadline of 2 months. We should make the best use of it. We have to protect the rear of the army from now on. Billy rubbed his forehead for a moment and then continued. I suggest that we divide the army into 4 divisions. Let us say under the command of I, Soccer, Jabba, and Amon, and attack the nearby cities in an orderly fashion and at the same time instead of walking straight, because this gives them a chance to gather in front of us and behind us. As for moving in 4 different directions, we will extend our control over the continent in the actual sense and reduce, if not eliminate, the burden of huge battles. I suggest that we put protection teams in every city we conquer, say 500 saints and a few sages, so that they secure the rear of the army and take care and secure the prisoners and the innocent in those cities. Everyone nodded, but then Jabba hurriedly added, You said earlier that the common people don't know what's going on, so I have a suggestion. I'm saying that we send before us all of the demons who have trained in the major heavenly law of the winds and know the language of this world to use the minor heavenly law of sound and tell everyone with what happened in the ancestral continent, and that we have the right to this attack and we are not just demons, we came to eat them. Perhaps this softens the intensity of their defense against us. Good suggestion. But not many demons train the wind law and know the language of the world at the same time.
Moonspooke.
Billy cracked his fingers and spoke excitedly. No problem, the ships that Robin designed can cover the back and forth to Ancestor Continent in a round trip in just 3 months. We can send ships to fetch the Burton's wind core from Ancestor Continent. Wait, we can even bring all the Burtons to help us. Good, we can also bring in more demons to make up for the dead and injured, and to divide more armies. Soccer nodded at the suggestion. Excellent. So we have 3 months until the arrival of reinforcements, during which we can strengthen the rear of the army and consolidate our control over the lands we have already taken. And then we can continue the conquest in the south, north, and west of the continent, and during this, we besiege the northeastern region of the continent that contains the capital until support arrives. After it arrives, we will continue our way from all sides until we reach the capital and effectively besiege it until it falls. Is there an objection? Everyone looked at each other for a few seconds and then spoke in one breath. Agreed. 5 months later, the capital of the Flame Empire, inside the Imperial Palace. Boom. No. The Western Gate's defenses are falling apart. It is only a matter of time before the enemies storm the capital from the gap there.
Boom.
Then what to do? We can't send them reinforcements, we don't have any reservists. Most of our saints and sages are all guarding the sky of the capital against the aerial attacks of demons and the Burton family's forces. If we pull some of them out to help at the Western Gate, the result will be the same and we will have another gap at the sky. Damn! How is it possible that all the enemy troops can fly? They came with more than 100,000 soldiers, and not a single one of them is in the knighthood realm. We urge the innocent citizens of the Flame Empire to take refuge inside your homes or any other building you can reach. We are here with the intention of taking revenge on the heads of the imperial family for their repeated crimes against the ancestral continent. We came demanding justice. We are not here for the purpose of starting a massacre. All the cities that fell under our control were not destroyed, and their people are living their lives freely. Choose the right choice and protect your family inside your houses. Whoever goes out will be considered an enemy soldier and get himself killed. Damn, it's those calls again. For some reason, the citizens are listening to them and hiding in their homes dreaming of salvation. Because of this, we failed to move the whole capital. We failed to rally the nearby cities, and we failed to gather any suicide operation forces, as everyone waiting till the battle is over maybe he can survive. Do they really think those red devils will have mercy on them? Damn it! What did we do to get involved in all of this? What the hell are those creatures, and why are they attacking us? Long inhale. Ignoring the 100 troubled elders, a middle-aged man stepped onto the balcony of the Crown Hall, took a long inhale as he watched the sky of his city burning, then spoke. Who would have thought that attacking a few peasants in the ancestral land would bring us a day like this? Nos cheat. From day one I told you to wait, I told you to respect the person who created the talismans, I told you to try to make a deal with him, and what did you do? You went on and massacred his family. And you didn't even try to make it up for him after that and express your goodwill. I told you not to provoke him further by contracting the ambush in the prisoner exchange. But you did anyway. We lost a third of troops in the central continent with that arrogant move of yours. Troops we now desperately need. If you listened to me at every step you took, nothing of this would have happened. If you listened to me, we might have had good relations with Robin Burton and the one who's supporting him from the shadows. But what did we have? A war against an unknown race that looks like it only exists to devour every and each one of us. An old man shouted from behind the emperor, then looked beside him at an old woman and pointed at her. Instead of listening to me, you chose to listen to this snake because her words satisfy your arrogance, your majesty, and this bitch are the cause of all we are in. You! The old woman looked beside her and almost cried out in anger, but she couldn't find anything to say. So she closed her mouth again and closed her trembling hands and looked at the ground. Old man Gu, I recommend you to choose your words carefully. This is not the time for internal conflict. The emperor was the one who replied in a harsh voice. No, let's do it now. What might an internal conflict would to us that is worse than this? Hasten our death and end our misery a few minutes earlier? Good. Old man Gu shouted. He couldn't control his emotions. What was happening now had exceeded all expectations and surpassed any bad scenario she could possibly think of. Not even the old man thought it would get such a length. Those damn 3 kings who came demanding help in decoding the fire explosion talisman said clearly that the owners are some average noble family that they themselves can destroy if they got enough of the fire explosion talismans. If these 3 random kings can do it, then how can they fail? And even leaving that aside, what is the worst that can happen if there is some force supporting the one who created the talismans? They would kill their men who were sent to the ancestral continent. That's it. But for the situation to bring them to a direct threat to the annihilation of their empire, which has been steadfast for tens of thousands of years. No, not just a threat anymore, they are already half a step away from annihilation. At the beginning of the invasion, about 5.5 months ago, the emperor and his entourage received shocking news that there is a hostile army on his lands, something that has not happened since the establishment of the empire. Knowing their attributes and that they are the demons that the elder from the central continent talked about, they immediately knew that the troops they send there were annihilated. Even before the real war began, they received this backbone-breaking news. But by following their path and taking advantage of their hasty moves, the emperor and his assistants were able to implement a number of plans that severely harmed the demon army. The hopes of expelling the attackers rose, and they began to invent new plans to disable the demon army. But in the end, this is what is expected in their eyes. It is the empire, the one that has held out and fortified for many, many years. How will it fall now from the first test? During the last 5 months, the hostile forces took a strange turn. They began to move slowly and prudently. They began to slowly take over all the cities and villages on the continent and put adequate protection in each one. Whenever an army comes out to invade a new city, it will have 1 or 2 squads behind it to provide support in case an ambush occurs. especially the legions of winged beasts that are called Dracos, whose numbers are estimated to be in the thousands. These winged beasts are patrolling the continent day and night, destroying and dispersing any crowds that might look dangerous. All the Empire's plans were thrown into disrepute. They became as useless as a spear thrown against a castle wall. They had no choice but to gather huge armies of citizens and confront the enemy face to face under the pretext of defending their lands from the demons that came to devour them. But the officers of the Wind Legion forbade them with their voices that were entering like arrows in the hearts of all the citizens of the Empire and pushing them to return to their homes. In the end, only the Empire's top experts remained against the demons and the Burton family special forces. And in terms of individual strength, numbers, or weapon quality, the Empire's experts were crushed in direct confrontations. I didn't think that the Empire would be subjected to such a circumstance during my rule, but that is fate. What happened has happened, but now we have to make a proper reaction, one that will be written with golden letters in history. The Emperor spoke softly as he looked from the balcony. The Emperor did not wait for a response from anyone after those words. His tyrannical aura suddenly sent the words back to the throat of all the elders who were about to stop him from doing anything extreme, and a strange phenomenon began to occur. A very faint image of a pale yellow phoenix began to incarnate behind him, but it was visible enough to strike fear into everyone's hearts. Even Soccer, Billy, and other leaders in Robin's army stopped what they were doing and turned their eyes to where the Emperor stood. We still have hope. It's a difficult method and an old-school trick, I know, and everyone here will be asked to make some sacrifices for it to be done. But there is no other solution. The Flame Emperor spoke. Then he pointed toward Soccer, who was fighting 3 generals from the Flame Empire at once. If we can kill the enemy leaders, then their army will be like a body without a head. Then we will easily be able to destroy who is left from them. If we move now and manage to take out the heads, we will have victory by our side by the night. This is our only chance. It is now or never. Who is with me? I backed your decisions from the very beginning, and at these terrible times will not be any different. I'm going to stand with you for the last breath. The old woman took 2 steps and said after hitting the ground with her staff, I'm at your serves till the end. We will show them who the men of the Flame Empire are. The Flame Emperor nodded and smiled without looking back and then flew towards Soccer like an arrow. Let's go! For glory! For the Empire! Hiya! You damned devil! Do you think you can bring your filthy minions to kill my men and devour my people? Now I will defend my homeland with my own hands. Today I will send you back to the bottom of hell where you belong. The Emperor shouted out loud on his way to Soccer, before sending a ball of pale yellow flame towards him.
Boom.
Soccer got into the defensive position quickly before the flame ball arrived. But it wasn't enough. The flame ball sent him more than 100 feet backward before he could stop. As soon as Soccer raised his head again from behind his arms, he found a person with a majestic crown on his head with a flame symbol at the front, and behind that man were dozens of individuals coming towards him with killing intent evident in each one of their eyes. Immediately Soccer knew what these people was trying to do. Growling, all the dozens of elders and generals began to fire attack after attack, trying to bring down Soccer at the fastest speed possible before they can move on to the next strongest person in the enemy camp. But it wasn't that easy.
Boom.
Hiding behind his high-level Dragon Realm strong body, his crimson high-quality divine armors, and backed up by his second-stage Wind Divine tattoo, Soccer began to receive some attacks and dodge others. He didn't allow them to have their way, but did he dare to break his defense to attempt an attack back at any of them? The fierce sudden attack came to a standstill, but it didn't appear that way to the weaker warriors beneath them. The successful sudden attack on the strongest demon and besieging him, sensing the Flame Emperor's aura and prestige, the faint image of the pale yellow phoenix that flies above him, and more than 20 sages flying behind him trying to terminate the enemy commander. All this ignited the enthusiasm in the hearts of all the Empire's soldiers. Kill the demons! I won't let you eat my family! The battle that was already raging seemed as if someone had thrown oil over it. The soldiers of the Flame Empire started ignoring the safety precautions and attacked with everything they had. During the rushing attack they received many injuries, and some of them had their limbs cut off by the demon's sharp fangs. But this did not stop their advance. The demons started to retreat step by step. The loss of life between the demons after this attack wave wasn't great because they had instructions to protect their lives before anything, but the lands they had gained and the siege they had tightened around the city started to expand increasingly. Vroom. Suddenly the emperor and his sage followers felt as if the sky was descending on their heads. Some of the weaker sages among them began to fall from the sky like leaves from the intensity of pressure. "What is going on?" asked the emperor with a shout. He was almost the only one who seemed unmoved by the pressure descending above their heads. And the answer was not long in coming. A giant creature up to 3 meters in height came rushing towards the emperor, carrying a huge black war hammer. And as soon as he arrived, he didn't waste any time and descended with it towards the emperor's head. Ke. The emperor raised his arm above his head and took the full blow at him without moving an inch. "You overestimate yourself." With his other hand, the emperor sent a ball of flame toward Jabba's exposed stomach, sending him flying backward. "Brother Soccer, Brother Jabba, are you okay?" "Humph. Finally the head of the snake is out." Jabba has barely pushed away from the emperor before everyone could see behind him a mixture of demons and humans, all with the power of a middle sage level, at least, coming from every direction. The emperor opened his arms to both ends and a bale of yellow flame ignited all over his body. The intense heat forced everyone, friend or foe, to retreat quickly, leaving the emperor alone in a circle more than 50 meters in diameter. Not only that, but right after this move, everyone was forced to stop as the giant flame ball the emperor gathered around him suddenly dissipated, moved between Jabba, Soccer, and the rest, and then gathered again but behind them. Now the emperor locked himself and his men with about 100 demons and men of the Burton family, while the rest of the reinforcements of the demon and Burton sages couldn't break into that flame ball to get in. Everyone, whether friends or foes, looked behind them towards the flame prison in amazement, reverence, and even some fear, not knowing what the emperor was thinking. The faint phoenix image behind the emperor seemed to grow up little by little as it looked down at everyone with absolute arrogance. Then the emperor passed his gaze around at the humans of his enemies and spoke sarcastically. "The Burton family, you lot allied yourselves with demons against fellow humans like you for the sake of some political grudges between us? It seemed that what I did to your family was the right thing. An evil family like you should have perished from this world a long ago. And now it is me with the 100 elders of my council against the 100 of you in a fair fight. No one can disturb us. I will destroy every single one of you. Some of you can try to run, but most of you are already dead. And then I will kill the next patch, and then the next until we annihilate you all the way to the ancestral continent." "Your 100 what?" Caesar said, raising his eyebrows, and then began to look around sarcastically. He. Even the rest of the Robin family started chuckling and patting each other's shoulders. The emperor furrowed his eyebrows when he saw this. Since when are his words being ridiculed? What are you laughing at? Do you think I am not capable of doing what I say? Do you think I will not begin a massacre right now like a lion in a flock of sheep? Even a 20 of you can't bring me down. In a fair fight with even numbers, you are doomed. Your Majesty." A voice came from behind the emperor all of a sudden. What is it?" The angry emperor replied without looking back. That voice hesitated a bit, but he gathered up his courage and spoke again. "I think we have a problem." "What problem is bigger than the current situation? What are you trying to s?" The emperor got agitated and looked behind him to scold that person, but the words got stuck in his throat when he saw the individuals standing behind him. He doubted his eyes for a second, he started rubbing them for a second, then tried to count again. But the result was the same. There were less than 30 individuals behind him. A few minutes earlier. Now or never. We are with you to the end. After the emperor's enthusiastic speech, he rose from the ground, extending his arms to his right and to his left, and then bounced towards Soccer at full speed without looking behind him in a majestic and bone-chilling scene. Then about 30 sages, including his old woman advisor, set off behind him. But most of the elders and generals didn't move a single inch from their places. Damn! Does he not see the number of the sages among our enemies? They are in thousands. Thousands! How many we will kill before we get surrounded and get ourselves killed? Now or never, he says. The answer, of course, is never. Look at those fools who flew after him. They are still living in their own fantasy world. These fools were the reason the emperor took many bad decisions one after the other. They always back whoever sits on the throne, without having a brain for themselves. At least we had a chance to prolong the war until we could find a way to save ourselves or find a middle ground with the enemy. If we kept defending from the inside, we will still have a chance. But now His Majesty took a third of the strongest sages in the empire and just got out. They are literally flying to their deaths, and they know it. What do we do now? Shall we go after them and get killed outside? Or do we sit here and wait for the demon to come in and devour us where we stand? About 70 high and peak-level sages began to exchange glances and words among themselves in fear and frenzy, while the emperor and those with him had already reached Soccer and began to strike him with their strongest blows. Everyone in the throne hall now is either an important elder who has lived for thousands of years or an important general or a strategist in the country. Each of them can lead their own army, no, their own country. But after a few moments of turmoil and panic, they all spontaneously looked in the direction of one person and asked, "What do you think is right?" They were all looking at an old man who looked as if there was a fine line between him and death. But he did not answer them immediately, but only looked at the emperor with a look of sadness and pity for a few more seconds. Then he spoke, "If we go out, we will surely be killed, and if we stay in our places we do nothing, we will be killed, and if we join to defend the city, we will be killed, and not only us but all our families will be killed after us. And the thing is, there is no glory in dying here, our nation. If they even made it out of this crisis alive, will remember us that we are the fools that almost got them killed and that we deserve what happened to us." The heartbeat of the sages in the hall returned to pounding like war drums. Thinking about it in this regard only resulted in utter despair. Absolute silence dominated the hall for a moment. No one spoke back and no one gave any alternative solution. They just kept silent and started thinking about their families. What do they do now but go back to their homes to spend the last few minutes of their lives with their loved ones? But the silence was suddenly interrupted by a loud shout from that old man that resounded over the entire imperial capital. "Hui, you!" They all looked at where the old man was looking and found a human youth dressed in all white standing in the heart of the enemy army giving command after command. He was the commander-in-chief of the enemy forces. Billy looked at the source of the shout that pierced his ear, surprised, then pointed toward his chest to make sure the old man meant him. "Yeah, you? Who else is there?" The old man gave another shout. "What are you trying to do?" More than one elder asked in one breath when they saw this. Is he trying to anger them more? "What do you want, old man? Trying to distract me won't gain you anything." Billy raised his voice and said back. But the old man ignored them and continued shouting. "You said you don't want a massacre. Let me put this to the test. With me here, 70% of the ruling class of the empire. Raise your voice and tell everyone what you will do if we order to lay down the weapons and surrender right now." Even in their wildest dreams, not one of the elders expected the old man to suddenly utter those words. Even Billy furrowed his eyebrows for a few seconds upon hearing this. "Anyone with simple logic will see that we will win whether you surrendered or not. Do you expect from this? To treat you as a trusted ally or something? Where were you a few months ago? Surrendering now is meaningless. You will not take down this capital anytime soon if we put our all into defending it. How many of you men and demons will be dead in the process? How long will you take to control these lands after you kill us all? I don't expect to be a trusted anything, but there must be some middle ground." The old man's voice rang again. Billy didn't know if this was some kind of ploy or an honest request, but he decided to give a straight answer anyway. "To implement the merciful instructions His Excellency gave us, and to save a few more lives of my men, this is what will happen if you lot surrender immediately and order your troops you lay down their weapons. Whoever among you had a hand in what happened in the ancestral continent, like he killed any Burton member by his own hands, or gave direct orders that directly resulted in killing a Burton family member, will be killed without discussion. Whoever was supporting the operation but did not direct orders or killed anyone himself, will be severely punished, going to prison or getting tortured for an appointed time, but he will not get the death penalty. Whoever opposed or does not participate in anything related to that process will be presented to His Excellency Robin Burton, and he will decide what to do with them. And what about our families? The old man was silent for a few seconds and then shouted, "Traitors! All of you are traitors! I'm going to kill you all!" Before Billy could respond, an angry shriek came from above the capital. It was from the Flame Emperor. Finally, the proud emperor looked behind him to look for the rest of his servants to see why they were not by his side, to see who they were fighting somewhere along the road or if they got themselves killed. But he was surprised that they were still standing there immobile and, speaking with the commander-in-chief of the enemies? The emperor rushed towards his palace madly. But Sakar, Morin, and a number of other demon kings blocked his way with big, terrifying smiles on their faces. The thought of taking a bite out of the emperor's flesh sent happy chills all over their bodies, while all the elders and generals bowed their heads after their emperor's cry, and Billy was distracted to trying to send more aid to fight the emperor and those with him. The old man stressed his question again. What is going to happen to our families? The innocent will not be killed. Whoever did not have a hand in what happened, his life will not be a price. Punishments may be imposed and the wealth of the family of the offender may be taken, but they will not be killed, and your current army, as soon as they leave their weapons immediately and sit inside their houses in peace, we will leave them be. This is my promise to you. A promise from the Burton family. Who? The old man let out a long sigh, looked around slowly at all the generals and elders, and nodded slightly at them. He then looked toward Billy and shouted in a voice that everybody could hear, "We surrender! All of you drop your weapons now and open the gates. We surrender! Do not you dare throw their weapons. This is your homeland, and your families are behind you depending on every one of you for survival. Fight to the death, and don't listen to these traitors." The emperor cried aloud when he heard the counselor's words. He was still trying to reach the throne hall again, but the road was simply cut off in front of him. "You traitorous old man! I knew a long time ago that he would come today and betray the great Flame Empire. You are weak. Everyone, don't listen to this old bastard. Fight for the Empire!" Old Woman G also shouted. The declaration of the old counselor was heard all over the capital, causing an earthquake in all hearts and minds, and so was the roar of the emperor. On the one hand, their emperor advanced the scene and called to fight to the death, and now his counselor, one of the most respected and revered men in the empire, calls for complete surrender. Undoubtedly, most of the soldiers wanted to lay down their weapons because they knew for sure that it was a losing war and that their death was certain. But with one look at those who were fighting them, at the demons, it made them cling to their weapons more. Who would leave his and his family's safety in the hands of these man-eating beasts? Is the option to surrender even available? 8 feet tall crimson creatures with spiral horns, without eyes, with thick and long white hair. If someone had described this image to them before, they would have said that they described the demons that will destroy the world. And here they are, destroying the world. What guarantees that these things will stop killing once they lay down their weapons? Who can guarantee that what the human general of the enemy says is true? How would they know that all other cities are run normally and that their inhabitants are not dead, or worse, eaten? Maybe it's just empty talk to end the war quickly. A storm swept the minds of all the Empire's soldiers. They didn't lay down their weapons but started to retreat little by little. The land they gained while rushing after the Emperor was lost in moments. Listen to my words and lay down the weapons. A little hope is better than complete despair. Killing a demon or two before you die won't change the fact that you are dead. The old man shouted again. 6th Battalion. Listen to the orders. Throw your weapons and retreat into any nearby houses. 13th Battalion. Listen to the orders. Throw the weapons and retreat into any nearby houses. 9th Battalion. Listen. The voices of the rest of the elders and generals in the throne hall began to rise one after the other. Their voices were not half as strong as the old man's voice, and they did not speak to the whole nation as he did. Each of them only addressed a part of the army with orders, the part that they usually command. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. Good soldiers follow orders, and the orders from their direct superiors have arrived. They no longer have to worry about listening to this or that. It became easy for them. Battalion after battalion, wall guards behind wall guards, thousands of knights, saints, and sages lay down their weapons and quickly retreated to hide inside the homes of the citizens. Damn it! Losing more than half of the army at once, there was no longer any battle. If the other half of the Flame Empire army kept fighting alone, the demons would rally around them from the gaps left by those who retreated and kill them off with ease. It didn't take more than a minute for the other half of the Empire's army to start to retreat. The cries of the humiliated emperor shook the entire imperial capital. "You all deserve to die." He used all his strength to gather an energy field around him and push everyone around him dozens of meters back, then raised his hands up and started making a flame ball. It quickly reached a diameter of 5 meters and didn't show any signs of stopping. 20 meters, 70 meters, 150 meters. The intense heat and the massive amount of energy gathered in the flame ball forced the demons, Caesar, and even the sages who were still following the emperor to retreat quickly so as not to be dragged into that hell. Hiya! Then, without warning, the emperor threw the giant flame ball toward the area with the most full of mortals and soldiers deserters, an area with hundreds of thousands if not over 1 million Flame Empire citizens. Whoa! The emperor has gone crazy. Help! Elias! When he saw this scene, the old counselor creased his eyebrows and shouted, "You dare do such a despicable act in my presence?" Suddenly the old counselor disappeared from the throne hall and appeared right between the flame ball and the capital and then raised his hands up. A phoenix shadow that was more visible and bigger than that of the emperor started to form behind him, and with a HEYAA, he formed a huge energy barrier and slammed into the fallen huge flame ball. The counselor agonized for a moment but eventually managed to slow the huge flame ball's descent to a halt, then slowly began to lift it up, until he finally managed to throw it away with a shout. "You old bastard, even at a time like this going against my will? Damn you! Damn you!" Flame Emperor Elias cried out with all his might as he saw the flame ball going towards the sea. He put all his strength into it and used up more than half of his energy forming it. Ha! 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 The old man gasped for a few seconds and then looked up. "I stepped down and gave you the throne during my lifetime to train you in action. I wanted to see you as a good ruler and pass on my long experiences to you before I die. I didn't give you my throne to watch you from the side as your ego destroy the empire I lived my long life to protect. The empire that our ancestors paid with blood and sweat to make what it is. I did not give you these powers to use it to kill our own people. Did the old age finally claim the last brain cell in your head, you old fool?" Old woman G almost lost her mind after seeing and hearing what old Gu was doing. "Shut up. If it wasn't for your filthy upbringing, we wouldn't have come to this point. You made him so arrogant. You made him believe that no one under heaven deserved to be accounted for. It was your filthy upbringing that made him mess with the wrong person, and you even supported him doing so. All this is your fault. The only thing that I still resent my late father for is that he chose you to be my wife." Old Gu pointed toward the woman and shouted. Then he looked back at the emperor and declared in a voice that everyone heard, "Elias Barnett, you brought such misfortune upon the empire, and now you almost killed your own people instead of taking responsibility for your actions. You are a disappointment to the empire, and to me personally. I disavow you as a son, and today I will take back my throne from you. Support the land's legitimate emperor. That boy is no longer one of us. We support His Majesty, Emperor Gu Barnett." The current emperor, Elias Barnett, looked around him like a madman. He saw the looks of hatred and hostility from the simple people below. He saw the traitors calling for his dethroning in the middle of the battle. He saw quite a few of his close followers begin to retreat away from him. "I'm going to kill you all. I'm going to kill you all." Elias shouted at the top of his lungs and rushed toward old Gu. However, this time the demons didn't stop him. 1 hour later, "Leave his corpse alone, no matter what he has done. This is still the body of the previous emperor of this continent." Old Gu seemed to have forgotten the wounds on his body. He stepped forward and stood in front of the corpse of his son he had killed with his own hand, with eyes full of tears, and started waving at the incoming demons like a madman. It was a tough fight. Emperor Elias needed more than 20 demon kings to restrain him and perhaps kill him after a long battle. This is besides the danger of the sages who were still on his side. If it went as planned, the battle would still be burning right now. But old Gu's announcement, who turned out to be the former emperor, that he had disowned his son, and the fact that he had stopped his son's attack intended to kill all the hidden deserters from his people angered Emperor Elias beyond description. No one could have stopped the crazed emperor from reaching his father, and no one wanted to anyway. In the blink of an eye the tide turned, and all expectations before the battle were gone with the wind. In the blink of an eye, a massive battle began that brought together two generations of flame emperors. Emperor Elias had lost more than half of his energy in the events that took place so far, and yet he showed tremendous strength. But what was really surprising was that old Gu, who seemed to be on the verge of dying naturally of a heart attack, fought with his young son blow to blow. After more than half an hour of fighting, the immense experience gap began to appear in favor of old Gu, who began to strike the emperor with precise blows that made him retreat little by little. But that's all. Within that half an hour, the demon kings had finished killing all the elders who followed the emperor, including the old woman, and had gone to cordon off the site of the battle between father and son. Jabba and Billy tried to offer help to old Gu, but he was shouting to get away, and it was his duty to get rid of this fugitive son himself. So they just waited by the side. If the emperor was killed without the intervention of any of them, this of course will be much better. But then, more than a third of an hour passed. The old man stalled and struck in vain, or evaded his son's frenzy attacks, as if he was afraid that the fight would be over, as if he wanted to look at his son for as long as possible. But as this continued, anger appeared on Sokker's face, and secretly moved behind the emperor. He waited for the right time, and with a BAA, he punched at the unprotected flame emperor's back, and his spine instantly cracked. But that wasn't it. Sokker kept pushing until his hands went all the way and appeared from the other side, catching the flame emperor's heart. Old Gu seemed to be preparing to pounce on Sokker when he saw this shocking scene. The rest of the demons even prepared to attack him, but he eventually controlled himself and stepped back. But he couldn't hold himself as he saw the corpse of a son falling towards the ground, and saw a number of demons flying towards him with mouths wide open. Leave his corpse. No matter who he was, the former emperor of this continent. Secondly, we surrendered. Show some mercy and leave the corpses of the dead alone. Go away, old man, or I will drive you away. The master gave orders that Sokker and Amon eat the flame emperor's corpse, and that's what will happen. Jabba landed in front of old Gu with his huge hammer on his shoulder and spoke. I will personally thank the Lord when I see him. Sokker spoke with an overjoyed tone. The rest of the demon kings next to him started to get envious looks. They wanted to share the corpse between them. When will they get such a fine corpse again? Billy also rushed to the scene and came to stand beside Jabba with furrowed eyebrows and spoke. What, old man? Are you the one who decides what will happen now? Did you believe you got your throne back or something? Worry about your life and the lives of those who haven't been killed yet. All the dead bodies of those who were killed today will be turned into food without exception. But the old man's head almost exploded when he heard this. In addition to his eldest son, what would his people say about him if they saw these creatures eating their friends and relatives? Billy took 2 steps forward and grabbed the old man's collar. Listen to me clearly, defeated old dog. It is true that we have come here to punish you for what you have done to Jura City. But that's not just it. The main objective was to feed the demons. His Excellency Robin wanted to exterminate all living beings here to feed them, and I begged him to follow the customary teachings of war and to keep your dog lives. If you do not want to ignore even the corpses of those who have already died, then I have no objection to following His Excellency's first will and kill the rest of you. Understand? Aha! Old Gu's heart clenched when he heard these words, and the tears in his eyeballs stopped. All the destruction that had happened up until today was the light version? They came with the intention to exterminate everyone. Suddenly abandoning a few corpses is no longer too difficult to imagine. But at this moment, as Billy grabbed the old man's weeping collar, he heard a voice from behind. Uncle Gu Barnett? Sigh, that is not a good way to treat seniors, young man. Everyone turned to the source and found 3 people floating behind them. 2 women and a man who seemed to be in their 30s. The 2 women are very beautiful, and the man is full of features of glory and prestige. The 3 of them wear extremely luxurious crowns on their heads, and their aura pressed on everyone as if the sky had descended above them. And behind these 3 were about 1,000 men and women at high or peak level sage, ready to attack at any moment. Billy looked up and down at the 3 people. left Old Man Goo's collar, and then shouted, "What the hell are you?" 5 months earlier, somewhere in what was known as the Black Sun Kingdom. What have I done wrong in my life? Why is everything falling apart? I never sought to harm anyone. That wasn't my initial purpose. At least all I wanted was not to live a life like the rest of the herd. All I wanted was to leave a legacy behind me. Is this heaven's punishment for deviating from the usual road? But what crime did those around me commit to being tortured for my sin? Why did all those souls have to be destroyed for the sake of the path I have chosen for myself? Asterisk step. Asterisk. If the sect was still on my side, I might have been able to do something to put some things back together. But the sect is. Sigh, but can I really blame them? I don't own them. They think it's better for them to distance themselves from my problems. That is their decision, and I can't make them enemies because of it. It's my problem that I didn't make them completely loyal followers. It is my problem that I wasn't a good leader and walked by their side all these years. After all, most of those elders in that council, I have only seen them once or twice in my life. Kicks a rock from a collapsed building in the middle of the road. What should I do now? I have no more forces on my side other than the demon race and some human forces of the Burton family and the rest of the friendly families like Bradley and Camden and Morpheus. They are more than enough to invade this nascent planet a few times over, but they are nothing in Nahari, nothing compared to the emperors of the northern region. I need to get into that northern region no matter what. Even if I put my vengeance aside, I must still get Richard out of that place. Maybe I go with a few other experts in disguise to get to Richard and rescue him? No, it is not possible. They treat him as a national treasure because of his ability to extend life and cure diseases. He is under strict protection all the time, and their spiritual sense does not leave his side. I wouldn't be surprised if there is an emperor nearby to secure him. Even I can't use the dark and space paths to hide from someone beyond the sagehood realm. If even I can't hide, then how can I hide Richard from their eyes? Should I take a few thousand demons on a quick quest on the backs of the Draco to attack the Azel tribe, rescue Richard, and then return quickly? No, the Azel tribe is located on the far north of the planet, and around it are other tribes of the north in all directions. Even if I entered and exited from the lands of the Azel tribe successfully, and this is impossible, I still have to cross more of their allies' lands to reach the space portal. It is impossible for me to carry out an operation like this successfully, and even if Richard and I manage to escape somehow, all the demons who will participate in the mission will be exterminated, and I will risk being hated by the demon race forever because of this. They are now fighting me but are also fighting to eat. I can't go too far and simply throw them on suicide missions. Maybe I should wait until I break through to the Emperor's realm and storm the Azel tribe alone and rescued the boy. It is not possible. The difference between the levels of strength is not too wide and can be compensated by the number. Even if I become the strongest emperor in the world within the next few years, I will not be able to attack a tribe containing a number of emperors and do as I please with it. I also do not know when or if I were to be able to break through to the Sagehood realm anytime soon, much less the Emperor's realm. The only solution I see would be to strengthen my forces enough to sweep the entire northern region with minimum losses. This is not at all far-fetched in the long term, but I must strengthen them to such a degree before the invasion arrives in the next 27 years. I do not know how strong those invaders are, but they undoubtedly have emperors among their ranks, or at least some means to deal with the emperors. Otherwise, they would not have dared to come. If the invasion had begun on Nahari, who knows how long it would last before the invaders were victorious and annihilated the natives? And who could guarantee that an indiscriminate strike would not strike the city in which Richard now resides, or worse, the invaders deliberately kill him because he heals their enemies? So I have to strengthen my current army to be powerful enough to conquer the northern region within 27 years. Crack. Robin stood his place and clenched his fist too badly that his bones were about to break. But that's impossible. How do I strengthen everyone to this degree? The demons have a characteristic that distinguishes them from all other creatures. They can easily obtain power by eating intelligent creatures. This ability is so overpowered that nature itself made them deaf and blind to make it somehow fair. But can I take advantage of it to this degree? No, they would need an enormous amount of food to even come close to completing this task. Where do I get that kind of food for them? Even ordering the extermination of the continent of the Flame Empire containing tens of millions of people would not be enough. To carry out such a scheme, I have to give them the order to eat every blade of grass on the entire 6 continents, and then take them on hunting trips in Nahari. And of course, the first target would be the City of Hope that contains the space portal. Robin finally stood his place and grabbed his head tight. Arg! What do I do? Why is all this happening to me? Why does heaven force me to suffer so much? Is it now between letting my son suffer till death or sacrificing billions of innocents to save him? Why do I have to make such difficult decisions? Why me? Hey, Jesse. Look here. I found breakfast. For today. I'm coming, honey. During Robin's nervous breakdown, he suddenly heard a weak voice that forced him to look toward its source. The sound was not weak because its source was far away. It was a middle-aged woman not more than 20 meters away from him. The sound was weak because she herself sounded as if she was about to die. Robin lowered his hand from around his head and looked at what that woman was hugging between her two weak hands. It was a dead chicken. Horrible-looking and smelling chicken. Apparently it dead and rotted a few days ago. Yet the woman was cuddling it as if she had found a treasure. Robin stopped and looked at the woman and her feeble steps as she hugged the dead, rotting chicken with her shaky arms, following her as she brought the breakfast to the other side of the street, even though the sun had set. She was only crossing the road, but the few steps took her more than 2 minutes. She kept forcibly pulling her legs as if she was pulling weights until she finally reached what looked like a corpse and sat next to her. Only when the corpse tried to speak did Robin know that the owner of this skinny body was actually still alive. His features were not recognizable due to severe hunger and thirst that looked no different than a long-dried mummy. But with one look with the eye of the truth, Robin knew that the owner of this body was a boy that is not yet 10 years old. Wait a minute, my dear. Mama has brought you breakfast. The woman gently stroked her son's head and then moved her shaking hand again towards the dead chicken and began to pluck its feathers one by one. The woman did not even have the strength to remove several feathers together, estimating the number of feathers on the body of the dead chicken. It seemed as if the woman would never finish. It was clear that she and her son had not eaten anything for days, and at this pace, they will not eat today either. While Robin stared at what was happening before him in curiosity, a snarling sound came from behind the wall on which the woman was leaning, and slowly a dog came out from behind the wall. Not some high-level beast or anything, just an ordinary dog. No. 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 Go away. When the woman saw it, she was terrified. She hugged the dead chicken again with one hand, held a small stone in her other hand, clung to the wall, and then spoke in a weak voice. Not today. I won't give you. I can't. Please. The dog looked at her for a few seconds as if he wanted to pounce on her. But at the last second, it seemed as if it understood that it would have to fight a life-or-death battle if it wanted to take that chicken from her hand. So the dog turned its eyes and looked towards the easier target. He looked at her son. No. No. The woman looked at the dog's eyes and then at her son, and began to mutter with great fear as if she could foresee what would happen next. The dog suddenly jumped up and grabbed the son's left arm and started pulling back. My son! The woman left the stone from her left hand and took hold of her other son's right arm and began to pull it towards her and shout, Isn't it enough for you, what you did to my son's face? Leave him live the rest of his days in peace. Whether it is the woman or the dog, they were both extremely skinny and powerless, just bones covered in skin, and the child in the middle was too weak to shriek in pain or even to show any reaction, only his eyes partially open looking up at the sky. The whole scene was extremely tragic, to say the least. After a few seconds, when the woman knew that the dog would not walk, she looked at the dead chicken in her lap and then at her son. Then, after some hesitation, she threw the chicken to her side and pulled her son towards her with both hands. The dog was happy to let go of the boy's arm and then went to the chicken, took it in its mouth and quickly hid again behind the wall, leaving the woman embracing her son in her arms. Her face seemed to squeeze. She wanted to cry, but the depletion that hit her body refused to shed a single tear. Looking at the scene in front of him, Robin completely forgot what had been on his mind just before. He forget about the questions that could affect the future of entire planets. Unknowingly, he found his feet moving toward the woman and her child. You! What? Do you want? No, I have nothing. At last, the woman noticed Robin after being shot a few steps away from her. She hugged her son to her chest even more in apparent terror. "We are both skinny. There is no meat in our bodies. You will not benefit anything from us. Please." Is she afraid that I want to eat them? Robin stopped 3 steps away after hearing those words, not daring to take another step. Then, for the first time since leaving the space portal, he started looking around. The corpses and body parts are scattered everywhere. There is no difference between them and the dirt and stones, the devastation inflicted on all the houses without exception, as there is not a single house or structure standing without a wall or 2 demolished. And the strangest thing is that there is hardly anyone in the street even though the sun has set only a few minutes ago. This can easily be understood that people are terrified to go out at night, but where did all the people go with most of the houses destroyed? Are there any people in this ghost town anyways? It had been about 2 weeks since he left the space portal in Jura City and he was walking continuously. He felt a lot of horrors happening around him and many thieves tried to rob him, but he didn't pay any attention. Nothing stopped him and shocked him to the core as what he sees now. This area looked like hell itself. This place, where are we now? Robin looked at the woman again and asked. The woman did not know what this question was and what caused it, but she did not dare to delay in answering, so she spoke directly. "We are in the capital of what was known as the Duchy of Evren. Evren Duchy's capital." Robin nodded when he heard these words and let out a long sigh, then started looking around again and examining more carefully. So that's what Billy meant. The disappearance of the ruling class, no matter how tyrannical it is, results in nothing but destructive chaos. All the decisions and agreements that were between that ruling class and other governments or major merchants would disappear into thin air with them. All the huge farms that is responsible of feeding the major public are cut off, if not totally abandoned. The army, the police, and all government institutions would disintegrate and lose all their meaning, and with the disappearance of the executive authority, bandits and criminals come out to attack the merchants and farmers to control the largest amount of resources to monopolize these commodities, and would obviously spread murder and terror among the people doing so. It is an inevitable chain of events that is inescapable except with the establishment of a new government as quickly as possible. But, even if a brave person could declare the establishment of a government to help the people, who would dare go against the Burton's orders? Forgetting about the orders not to establish any organizations, there are even orders that prohibit everyone from entering the knighthood realm. How is anyone supposed to start a government in a world ruled by the strong when you don't have the strength to do so? The catastrophe that befell the ancestral continent had made nobles and scum equal in strength, as no one is above level 10 no matter how rich or poor are you. In a situation like this, it also means that everything the noble families once had is now a public property. This caused the spread of energy cultivation techniques and heavenly law techniques among everyone after it was the preserve of nobles. Now there is no longer any difference between people, there are only gangs and ordinary people. Huge numbers of individuals who have joined gangs have all the means needed to cultivate up to the level of a saint. But even though they have all that they need, they would still reach the 10th level of energy foundations and then stop, for fear of meeting one of the red demons. In addition to all this, Evren has a special position unlike any other place in the ancestral continent. Here, Robin not only ordered the eradication of the ruling class and those in the knighthood realm but also ordered the extermination of the entire bloodline of the Evren family. Jura City, for example, had too many families and residents other than the Burton family, hundreds of thousands of them. But all the shops, restaurants, farms, factories, and training academies belonged to members of the Burton family. They owned all the important joints of the city so that they could easily run the city themselves even if all the other inhabitants left under any circumstances. And this strategy was adopted by all the great families in the capital of their lands. About 200,000 Evren family members were exterminated in one night in an unprecedented disaster, wiped off the face of the continent, and wiped with them the life of this city. Basically, there were even no big merchants and farmers left to be attacked by gangs and monopolizing their goods. A state of panic hit the capital a day after the incident when people felt the coming danger, and street fights and random cases of vandalism began. Every man was trying to collect any breadcrumbs to suffice his family during the trip to go to another place. With that, another massacre, no less horrific than the previous one, hit the city. By the end of that week, More than 1 million citizens had been killed, and the rest began to fall one by one from starvation until the city reached what it is today. A city filled with ghosts of the living and the dead. After about a minute of looking around, Robin came back and fixed his eyes on the woman and her son. Frightened when Robin looked back at her, she pressed her back against the wall again, as if she wished she could pass through. Robin ignored the woman's reaction and kept his eyes on her and her son, keeping his eyes on the results of his actions. Robin sighed again, put his right hand behind his back, and then inserted his spiritual sense into his space ring, and out of nowhere a long piece of bread the size of his arm appeared. Then he faked a smile and took his hand behind his back and made a throwing motion at the woman without getting any closer, then spoke with the fake smile still on his face. "Sorry, I don't have any more food. That's all I have for now." The woman looked at the large piece of bread that fell on her son's stomach in shock, lifted it up, and slowly brought it close to her nose. Then she started squeezing her face so hard that a drop of tears came down at the end. "That is it. There is no doubt. The smell of a fresh breed that she almost forgot. Thank you. Thank you." The woman embraced the piece of bread with one hand and brought her closer son to her with the other for a moment, then began to take small pieces of bread and feed her little one. She did not suspect for a moment that this bread was poisonous or something like that, but perhaps she hoped that it is. Die eating a fresh piece of bread. It would be the best possible death in their current situation. Robin kept looking at this sight for a few more seconds before turning around and walking in the middle of the road again. Robin knew that a piece of bread wouldn't make a difference. Most likely the woman and her son wouldn't survive another month, and all because of his decisions, because of his revenge against Duke Donald Everin. Does this woman deserve what happened to her and her family? Of course not. Did Robin regret the decisions he made? No. Such women are considered secondary damages that occur in all wars and in all crises. If he went back in time, he would most likely follow the same sequence of events again. Most likely. No, please, no. Robin's train of thought was suddenly cut off by a woman's voice screaming in a frightened voice. He looked behind him quickly to see what was going on and found a naked, thick-haired man, holding the piece of bread on his left and a pointed piece of bone on his right. The pointed bone pierced the neck of the emaciated woman. She died instantly. "You!" Out of anger, Robin almost sent a flame ball to turn that person to ashes, but he restrained himself at the last moment. He. Cough, cough, that man fell on the ground while embracing a piece of bread and laughed hysterically. Or at least he tried to. The condition of that person was no better than the woman. Robin could see his entire skeleton with the naked eye. He can count it bone by bone. It was simply a battle of survival, and the man chose that he would fight for his life. Robin's eyes turned to the little boy whose death is now certain without his mother. Even if Robin cures him completely, the little kid will not survive in a world like this. It would only increase his misery. With difficulty, Robin raised his hand and took out a needle of energy, and sent it toward the child's head. With the same broken gaze towards the sky, with the same painful features and squeezed body, the child breathed his last. "Go away. I have a weapon. Go away." At the last moment, before Robin turned to leave, he heard the voice of that naked man and looked at where the man was looking, and with the out of his eyes, he saw a shadow approaching the scene of the accident. After the screams of the naked man, the shadow left him alone and began to approach the corpse of the mother and her son with saliva flowing. It was the dog that fought with the woman a while ago. Boom! Robin put his hand over his heart and clenched it quickly. He didn't need to guess what would happen to these two bodies soon. He wasn't aware that he still could feel pity for someone's death after all those he had directly or indirectly killed. He turned around hastily and took a few harried steps, leaving that scene behind him, still not sure where he was going. But he was sure of one thing: the number of questions he had to think about had increased by one. For months after Robin's return to Jura City, in a restaurant somewhere in the middle of the ancestral continent. Hell, looks like this is the last drink I'll ever have in this life. A middle-aged man spoke and lowered the cup from his lips. Even after the loud drinking noise he made, the cup looked still full. It felt as if he was drinking one drop each time he lifts it. The last drink? Do you want to commit suicide or what? Well, you do look miserable. Please go ahead. The bartender replied indifferently as he cleaned a few cups in front of him. You cruel bastard, I come here to drink every day. At least fake some interest in my well-being. Why should I care if you won't be drinking again? Just finish your cup and get lost already. The bartender spoke, raising his eyebrows. The drunk man hit the cup on the table. Just ask me why I'm saying that already. I promise it will be good. One of the two reasons has something to do with you. But then he regretted that hit as a few drops of his drink spilled on the table, and he started licking it like a madman. Tiskwell, why would this be your last drink, Your Highness? The bartender said sarcastically. He really didn't care if this man live or die. Hey, that drunk man let out a long sigh and tears filled his eyes. The Future Knights gang burned my house 2 days ago because I didn't have the money to pay the protection tax. My 3 sons and 2 daughters were burned to death inside the house. While my wife received severe burns, I just left her next to the house unable to breathe. She is in a fight between life and death right now. Well, she might already dead by now. The bartender laughed out loud. You idiot! Who would mess with the Future Knights gang? You should have starved your family and given them what they wanted. Instead, you came here every day to spend your money here on wine. Anyway, congratulations. Now you have more money to drink and pay your taxes, haha. The drunk man put the cup on the table and shook his head. Hee. You really are a cruel bastard. But you know the answer to what you said already. If it wasn't for that wine, I wouldn't have been able to stop myself from committing suicide all that time. Only when I'm drunk I can somehow convince myself to go out and earn a living. Being alive in this miserable world has no taste or color except with wine. Of course you know this quite well. Everyone in these lands comes here to spend whatever they got to take a taste of your wine, as you are literally the only restaurant owner around, because your relatives in the Future Knights gang are protecting your restaurant and financing your activities. This is understandable. Anyways, it is okay. After today there will be no gang to pay for and no place to drink in. The bartender stopped wiping the cups and looked at the drunk man with a serious look. Looks like you drank too much today. You can get lost now. Ha ha. Don't you believe me? The drunk laughed out loud. You remember a boy named Pierce? 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 Pierce. The bartender furrowed his eyebrows, muttered, and then suddenly opened his eyes. The boy who escaped the Great Holocaust in the south of the city a year ago? Yes, Piers Morgan, the only male left of the Morgan noble family, after the Red Demons killed everyone at level 11 or higher. Gangs, especially the gang now known as the Future Knights, attacked the Morgan family, and turned everyone into ashes except for the kid Pierce, who managed to escape with the help of his elders. Every single member of the Future Knights gang has been looking for him since then. I believe? I know all this. He may have died in an alley somewhere by now. Why did you mention him? The discomfort was clearly visible in the bartender's eyes. Because this morning I saw him heading towards the den of the Future Knights gang, with sparks of anger spouting from his eyes, said the drunkard, as if trying to stifle his laughter. The bartender became even more annoyed. So what? Perhaps he had had enough of life and wants someone to end his misery. I don't think. His aura was clearly indicating that he entered the knighthood realm. Ha 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 ha. The cup fell from the bartender's hand. No. Impossible. There is a ban on entering the knighthood realm. You can't be that stupid, are you? Don't you remember what happened to his family in front of his eyes? Do you think he cares what happens to them after he gets his revenge? Isn't this the same reason your cousins were madly looking for him? Ha 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 ha. Today is the end of the Future Knights gang. And so is your restaurant. Did you now know why I wouldn't be able to drink again? Because there will be nowhere to drink. Ha ha ha, the drunk, middle-aged man started laughing hysterically. The bartender opened his eyes to the last of them upon hearing this and took a step back. This is bad. Then he walked towards the door of a tightly closed room next to him, unlocked it and entered quickly, and then closed the door behind him. That gang was indeed what kept this place running as the last restaurant still operating in the entire city. They robbed, killed, and looted in order to finance this restaurant and make it their front to sell their edible resources, and not for gold and silver coins, of course. This type of currency disappeared with the disappearance of the ruling regimes, Now everyone has returned to dealing with the exchange system. Most of those in the restaurant would go around the city and the neighboring cities to search the corpses and palaces of the nobles to find anything of value. Any treasure or a good weapon. Or maybe they go hunting in the forests full of beasts, defying the danger of death, to finally exchange some meat for wine and fruits. Those who are able to do these things are considered the middle class in the modern world. As for those who are not able to travel and search and do not know the art of hunting are destined to starve to death in the streets. This restaurant, as much as it was their only source of wine, variables, and fruits, is also a symbol for the aggression the future night gang has been doing to them. If the gang fell, this place will definitely be next. Hee hee hee. The drunk chuckled when he saw this, then raised the glass of wine and drank what was left in it at once. And with a crack, the drunk broke the cup in his hand, then went towards that room, pushed the door, and entered behind the bartender. And after 1 second the first scream came from inside. You want to kill me? Haha. Your restaurant will be destroyed anyway. Give me what you have first. I'm going to take you to hell with me. After another minute, the bartender came out of the room, hugging treasures of all strange shapes and colors and daggers made of precious stones, and some bread and meat. Unfortunately, he hardly took a few steps before falling on his face, and life had left his eyes. But life came to the eyes of those present in the restaurant. Everyone was minding his own business until they heard the scream. They saw everything after that but fear to make a move as long as the bartender was still alive. But as soon as they knew he was surely dead, many of them got up and attacked the body of the bartender and took what he was carrying, and others entered that room to loot the rest. And just like that, a massive massacre began out of nowhere. Only one person sitting in a corner by the door, with a bushy beard and untrimmed hair, seemed to care nothing about what was happening around him, just looking at the carnage going on in that little storeroom, and silently nibbling at the wild rabbit's thigh in his hand.